Morning, everybody. Morning, and welcome once again to Perkins Online. And may I begin by thanking Mrs. Joan Williams for having ably filled in for me for the last 2 days of last week. There is some difficulty in my mind as to where to start this morning. That apart. I suppose we could talk about crime. It seems that the number of persons murdered in Jamaica since the beginning of this year, and today is only the 8th of January, that we have in 8 days gone over 30 persons murdered. In fact, from what I've been hearing on the media, it could be as high as 35. We are also hearing that the crime situation is likely to get worse. Guns are being stockpiled, according to we have that on the authority of the Commissioner of Police. Guns are being stockpiled, and it is likely that we will have a bloody election, the Commissioner's words, or a bloody election campaign, whichever. Bloody. This is frightening. Frightening. And I can well imagine that Dr. Peter Phillips, the Minister of National Security, is running his mind over the possibility of severe, extreme, and resolute measures. Severe, extreme, and resolute measures. You know, in 1976, Michael Manley, having found himself in a bit of a scandal, a particularly nasty scandal, having to do with Albert Robinson, who was recruited as a spy for the People's National Party, a man with 16 previous convictions, who was provided with a gun at public expense, and took that gun, showed it to the leader of the opposition during a meeting that he was assigned to have with this leader of the opposition. And when it came to the attention of the government that this had happened, and remember the decision was made at a meeting at Jamaica House, presided over by the Prime Minister himself. And when it seemed that the Labour Party had hold of this information and was likely to drop a bombshell. Mr. Manley, the Prime Minister, went to Parliament and lied and on the basis of lies, and let me just make it clear at this point that I'm not saying this because Mr. Manley is dead and is no longer able to sue me. I said it while he was alive. I said it once in a column in the Gleaner. And he ignored it. I said it again on this program on KLAS, and he sued, but never took it beyond the issuing of the summons, you know. Manley went to Parliament and lied, and on the basis of that lie declared a state of emergency. And it was, from a political point of view, successful. Helped him to win the 1976 election. The party has not since resorted to such measures. But it seems to be in a pretty desperate situation, given that it always thinks that it is best for the country for it to form the administration, and that anything that will lead it or cause it to be in office, it regards as being best for the country and in the best interests of the country. So I shouldn't be surprised if in the face of all this resurgence of crime and the statement of the Commissioner of Police that he has intelligence leading him to the view that weapons were being stockpiled in preparation for a bloody election campaign. I shouldn't be surprised that if I hear people saying that, something needs to be done. Something needs to be done. I mean, and I suspect that if the government were now to go for a state of emergency and lock up half of the opposition, I suspect that there will be a lot of people who would think that, yes, that was a necessary action. So don't be surprised if you see that happening. One gets the impression that the government, as it is in a great deal of trouble. The former Prime Minister said at the party conference that Sister P was not only the party's best hope for a fifth term, she was its only hope. The meaning of which must be that the party is in no position after 4 terms in office to approach the electorate campaigning on its achievements. It can't say this is what we have done in the time that we have been there, and expect to be supported by the electorate. What it has to do is to campaign on the person of Sister P, the first woman sent by God to run this country. The trouble is that Sister P has not made an impressive start, much as she has been saying that the media has been ignoring her achievements and not bringing them to the attention of the Jamaican people. But it would be interesting to know what those achievements are. It does not seem that she is in command of the situation, and it may well be that her best hope, the best hope of the party, has shifted from her to something of the order of a state of emergency. But I was telling this to a friend of mine over the weekend, who is a lawyer, and she was saying that she didn't see that as likely, because the country is already under a state of emergency. We're already under a state of emergency. In terms of the rights of the people, there is not all that much more to be taken away. Right? So, I think we're in a bit of a mess, you know. I think so. We're going to hear about negativism and all this kind of thing. But we need to face the reality of our situation, because there's no hope of bringing about a cure without an objective facing of the reality. We take a break. Okay, thank you very much. We're back here online. One of the interesting and very sad, deplorable things that has been happening over the weekend is a number of policemen, I think in all about 5 of them, who've been hit by bullets. 2 have succumbed to their injuries. 3 others have been more fortunate. Is it 5 or more than that? I think at least 5. Somewhere in my mind is 7. But this again might fortify the demand for something of the order of a state of emergency. And the Riverton City smoke continues, although we have heard on a number of occasions statements coming out of the National Solid Waste Management the National Solid Waste Mismanagement Authority that the smoking will be over in a matter of days. We were then told that it would be over by Sunday, gone. And on Sunday we heard that it would be another few days. And then now, a very odd thing has happened. Mr. Alston Stewart, who, having presided over the disappearance, mismanagement, misallocation, whatever, of something of the order of $2 billion, was asked to resign from the National Solid Waste Mismanagement Authority. He has now been recalled to put out the fire. I think this is absurd, right? Particularly, I gather that the Contractor General is to submit a report to Parliament on the proceedings of the National Solid Waste Mismanagement Authority under the leadership of Mr. Stewart. But he has now been recalled to put out the fire. The National Solid Waste Management Authority cannot do the job. So they're calling on Mr. Stewart to come back to do it. Now what I'm going to say after that, if Mr. Stewart does manage to put out the fire, is he going to be jettisoned again? Or is he going to be restored to his position in the ministry, in the National Solid Waste Mismanagement Authority? Anyway, it will be interesting to hear what the Contractor General has to say on the matter. One hopes that this will soon be available, possibly after tomorrow. I don't know. Mr. Golding has said that the party conference that was held yesterday, Area 1 conference, I believe, talking about some Caribbean country, I think a South American country, but in the Caribbean, a South American country that spent a lot of money trying to influence recent elections in Colombia and in St. Lucia. The efforts were not successful, but this country and its leader have not given up. They are still at it and are contributing significant sums to the election that is to be held in Jamaica shortly. So Mr. Golding is saying, I wonder which country that is. And Mr. Golding has given the clear indication that these contributions are not being made to the Labour Party, but to the governing PNP. Interesting, this has been on the air since yesterday afternoon. There was the possibility of a denial coming out of the governing party, but we haven't heard anything of the sort. It will be very interesting to hear whether they do come up with a denial. Fascinating. Other items, there's been a plethora of interesting items in the news over the weekend. Another one that emerged yesterday was that the Maroons are threatening the government with war. The third Maroon War. If they proceed with their plans to allow bauxite companies into the cockpit country, with the likelihood of damage to the environment, severe damage to the environment resulting. The Maroons are not putting up with this, they say. They are prepared to go to war. What the hell of a statement. My gosh. Anyway, that is what I heard on the news. And I wonder what the government's response to it is likely to be. Very, very interesting times we're in. Very interesting. War. I don't know. The Maroons also seem to be, and the leaders of the various Maroon groups seem all to be united on this. They are not having it. These are very, very strong words. Let us see what happens. Now, next item. The spinners are out in force. I heard this morning on the Breakfast Club, Mr. Dennis Chang, who is he's very often on Mr. Goodspin's program, talking about the economy and how wonderful its prospects are. I heard him on the Breakfast Club this morning. Jamaica does not really have an economic problem. What it has is a social problem. You hear that? Jamaica does not really have an economic problem. Boy, that ball is spinning hard. Jamaica does not really have an economic problem. What it has is a Dennis Strong, Mr. Dennis Strong. What it has is a social problem. Now, I'm looking forward to hearing that discussed at greater length on another program later on today. Okay. Yes, do we? Okay, we're nearing the break. There's been a lot of discussion recently about the justice system and the state of it. Some very strong statements have been made by a number of lawyers. Mr. Richard Small, Mr. Frank Phipps, very strong statements. And there are others. Okay, we're going to take a break and we'll come back to that. Okay, thank you very much. We're back here online. Just to finish up what we were talking about earlier. The state of the justice system in Jamaica. I heard of Mr. Justice Maharan at King's House was being sworn in as an acting judge. He and another number of other judges being sworn in. He to an acting position on the Court of Appeal. And he said something about the justice system, the judiciary, being a bastion of the rights of the people. Well, I hope that the majority of the people of Jamaica would believe that. That would be a good thing. Question, though, whether they do. Very, very serious question. In this connection, I heard Deacon Thwaites on his program on Friday discussing the issue of the justice system in Jamaica. And I just extracted from it this little passage. Well, this was the major part of it, which I found fascinating. Listen to this.
There is no fair-minded person with knowledge who could be satisfied at the many excesses and contradictions of the justice system right now.
Well,
and further, while I support fully the efforts being made to reform the system, which is more comprehensive now than ever before, there is no doubt that there is valid criticism about some of the gaps in the law, some of the lack of prosecution in certain instances. And I'm not talking about the prosecutors, talking about a general societal and political attitude which has rendered us open to many of the apparent and real injustices, some of which you named a little while ago.
Well,
so we don't need to skin up with each other. It's a deep systemic problem, you see. It was never designed to really provide swift and effective redress for all the citizens of this country.
Okay, thank you very much. We're back here online. Now, well, we were online all the time, and we were listening to Deacon Thwaites and his views of the justice system. Right? But he seems to think that a lot is being done to correct it. Well, I don't know what those things are that are being done effectively to correct it. I notice, incidentally, that Mr. Ben Monroe. Mr. Ben Monroe, after 6 years during which we had no idea what was happening to the trial, he has now walked free. The prosecution has withdrawn a number of the charges, and the lawyers have argued successfully that there was no case made out in relation to others. So Mr. Ben Monroe walks away free as a bird. What about those poor people who put up the money for houses that it now seems that they will never get? Mr. Monroe is fortunate. And Mr. Purnell Charles must be laughing. Do you remember some years ago, Mr. Charles was charged with suborning murder? The preliminary inquiry into the case started a few days before the 1976 election. And I think fewer days after the 76 election, the DPP at the time entered a nolle pros, dropped the case against him. Do you remember who was the principal witness against Mr. Charles? I think he was a man named Ben Monroe. So he lost that one. He won this one. Okay, let's go to our telephones. Hello? 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 No? What's
Hello?
that? Yes? Morning, sir.
Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
morning.
Morning.
Uh-huh.
Am I online?
A what?
Am I online?
You are online, yes.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes, sir, good morning.
Yeah. First, I must congratulate Power and the phenomenal work they're doing.
Would you speak up a bit for me?
I said, first, I must congratulate Power on the phenomenal work they're doing, you know?
You congratulate what?
Power 106 on the phenomenal work they're doing.
Oh, phenomenal work they're doing. I see, all right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, sir, my issue is with the crime situation in Jamaica, you know?
Yes.
I'm calling from abroad.
Yes. Would you keep your voice up as much as you can for me?
Okay, I'm calling from abroad.
Yes.
First, I must say my reason for leaving Jamaica. So, you know,
Yes.
I lived there like 20-something years ago. You know?
Uh-huh.
I was at a function.
When was this? When would this have been? How long ago?
This was like 20-something years ago. Just right after the
27 years ago.
Yeah. I was at a function. I think it was a sun splash then. And I was at the gate trying to get in, you know? And it was like a stampede. It was a hard push from the back, and the gate got busted, and a lot of people ran in, you know?
Uh-huh.
I was at the front of the line. I had my ticket. I didn't run because I had my ticket. I stand up in the front, right? I just move up the way so I wouldn't get trampled, and everybody ran in. So a police officer approached me. Treat me.
Yes.
I tell him, well, I have a ticket, you know, and I couldn't stand up and let them run over me, so, you know, so the ticket here, and one of them was breaking now. And you know why you that? You know, the officer pushed me through box in my face, sir. Take the ticket out, give me a box in my face, and I started crying, you know. Big man, I cried. So we said, boy, when I do not more and walk over to a senior officer, I'm seeing a carcass with a chain underneath them arm. You know them, I don't know if enough super or inspector, but they wear the carcasses, you know. And I said, I explained to him warm. So boy, I was at the front of the line, I had my ticket, and rush, they forced me in. I tell the officer I have a ticket, and I'm still proceed for boxing. You know what the senior officer looked on me and tell me, Mr. Perkins, the good have a suffer for the bad, and I should move from in front time before he box me, so. You know?
Oh, yeah?
And if from the dealer, from the dealer, I said, boy, I have to leave this country, right? Because, you know, I don't know. So, when I see all them officers, I get killed, you know, sir. I just look on it and reflect on what they have to tell me the time. I say, some of them might be good cops, you know, sir. But, you know, the good have to just suffer for the bad charges. That's the attitude the police have to take against citizens. We now have to love them.
The good suffering for the bad is not justice, you know, sir.
There's no justice. That's what I'm saying. But what we're going to do when that's the senior officer look at it, you know?
Yes.
One, because, I mean, I was going to suggest a way for we improve the relationship in Jamaica with the police and the citizens is for us to get more educated and more intelligent cops. At the lower level, who can relate to people better than some of the ignorant cops.
But you know, sir, you know, the problem is not a problem of the police, you know.
Yeah?
No. The police force.
How do you say this?
Well, I'll tell you. The police force is an agency of the government.
Yeah.
And if the government did not want it to be so, if the government respected the people of Jamaica, and saw itself as being there to serve and protect the interests of the people.
Yes, sir.
And to sustain the rights of the people. Then the police force could not behave like that. Or members of the force.
I don't know if I agree with you. I think you actually politicize this, but anyway, that's how you see it. The next take now, I'm not going to say I agree with you on that, but and my next take now is, I'm from a garrison community.
Yes.
You know? I born and bred garrison community, you know?
Yes.
So
but that's not the worst things that have happened in garrison communities. Not long ago, 27 people were slaughtered in a garrison community, right? And their bodies left to rot on the roadsides.
Yeah, no, but listen here. Listen what I have to say. All right. Sometime I hear you say we should vote Jamaica, you know?
That what? That we should vote Jamaica.
Vote Jamaica.
Yes.
Right. You know? Okay. Now, my community where I'm from, in the days when we voted, there was open ballot. Nobody could hide who they're going to vote for. You know what I'm saying? So, it's like, and that happened in a lot of these communities, because they're going to say, if you're going to have to hide who you're voting for, you could be voting for the opposing side. And all these communities, you know, they are geared towards voting for one particular party, you know?
Yes.
And if you is not with that particular party, and you come from that community, it's going to be hard for you to vote against them. You know?
Yes.
Because you have opposing faction from another section who is a different garrison supporting another party, and they know you're born and bred from over that community. And either you go run away from your community and go over to your community and leave the rest of your family over your community, separate, or you got to stay in your community and be with them even though you're not up to what's happening, you know?
Yes.
So you're caught between a rock and a hard place.
Well, that takes the argument a bit further. Because if the people of Jamaica really understood what politics was all about, they wouldn't behave like that.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying, how are you going to get them, you know, when this thing been born and bred from the 60s coming up, you know?
Yes.
You're going to change people like that, you know? You know, it's going to be impossible. You're going to have to break down these communities. You know, how they're going to do that, you know? Their survival is based on politics, you know? If the party who they support wins, it's going to be better for the community. And if the party loses, now you're going to suffer it out, you know? So how the hell are we going to survive if we don't support whatever party? Even if he's not doing good.
Yes.
But if it's a bread and butter, you know, you have to support them, you know? So until we can remedy these problems, you know? I don't know what we're going to do, you know? It's a possible situation, you know?
All right, sir. Thank you very much. All the best to you. Okay, we take a break. We come back shortly. Okay, thank you very much. Back online. I see Mr. Danville Walker, the Director of Elections, talking about a number of dead people who remain on the electoral list. So what? So what? Aren't people issued, persons who are registered to vote, aren't they issued with electoral cards bearing their photographs? Is there not a matching photograph register of photographic register of the voters? So how can somebody who comes to vote in the name of some person who is dead is going to have to produce that person's registration card? And if the photograph on it isn't his photograph, isn't the photograph of the person who wants to vote, how is he going to vote? maybe there's something that I don't understand there. Okay, hello?
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Perkins.
Morning to you, sir. How are you?
Oh, not bad, and you?
Oh, could be worse, could be a lot better too, I suppose.
Oh, anyhow, I hear you're in top form there this morning.
Oh, is that so?
I hear you talking about Mr. Dennis Strong, who says that Jamaica doesn't have an economic problem. It has a social problem.
Yes. I think what he was going on to say was something about, the young man on the corner. If he really wants a job, should go and get himself qualified. I mean, go and study and get himself qualified. And the jobs are there.
Yeah, but
he's saying that there is construction work going on, and that is why they have to be importing construction workers, because they don't have people with the requisite skills.
Yeah, well, I know.
But I see that the construction workers imported have been building a hotel, part of which has collapsed twice.
Yeah. Anyhow, but I know people that are well qualified that can't get any job, Even people graduate from the UWI as engineer.
Look here, sir. The World Bank pointed that out a long time ago.
But if people believe that unemployment in Jamaica is a little bit over 8%, then we don't really have an economic problem.
That is spin, sir. That is spin.
I know it's spin because I hear Mr. Dwight Nelson says that there are over some 600,000 people out there that haven't really been included because after a period of time people don't see the chances of getting work, so they're not really out there applying for work.
They don't spend not going to spend their whole lives walking around knocking on doors and begging for jobs. Right? At some point they give up and find some other way of making a living.
Yeah.
Which is why, part of the reason why the idea that the crime problem is a police problem is nonsense.
Of course.
Right?
You need to create job opportunities for the suffering people out here.
For people to achieve what they hope to achieve by along lawful pathways. If those do not exist, they're going to find pathways that are unlawful.
Yeah.
Right?
But if we have a situation whereby we have debt of over $900 billion, and the dollar is...
Have they admitted that it is that high?
Well, at the end of September, according to the government figure, it is $891.58 billion. So it only need 8 point something to 8.42 billion to reach 900 billion. And you can look for how many more months we are going to have before we see the figure for December. Because we are now in 2007. But they can't give you NIR figure for November. But they're giving you debt figure for September.
Yes.
Those are the kind of thing that we have out here.
The debt is in fact higher than that.
Of course.
Because my understanding is that the Air Jamaica debt, for example, has not been added to that.
And the deferred financing in terms of road construction and things of the sort. And
I don't know whether the Venezuelan money is as yet added to that.
Well, more than likely that is not included. But when we have $1 Jamaican dollar equal to 1.4 American cent, you can thought that we're not in a serious economic problem.
Oh, I mean...
When that results in increase in the country's debt in terms of devaluation, increase in your light bill and your water rate, and increase in price in the supermarket every week.
But look here,
Those people living in fool's paradise,
Look here. These people are talking about a donkey cart, right? And from time to time something goes wrong with one of the wheels or with the donkey's hoof or something of the kind, right? And they talk about that. And all right, it will soon be rectified, What they are not discussing is how do we move from a donkey cart to a modern motor truck or something,
Yeah.
How do we get to the point where we have an economy that can do for us something closer resembling the internal combustion driven machine than the donkey cart, right? That is the economic problem that this country faces in the modern world, and that is what is not being discussed by all these great economists.
Yeah, because we have to produce our weight of our problem and not keep on borrowing. Because what we are doing is boasting about NIR that comes from remittance and borrowed money.
Yes.
Not really based upon the productive capacity of the country.
Of the people. And here it is that you have all these people in the country, right? People born into the world with the same sort of potential that other people in America and in Britain and in Germany and in France and wherever are born with. Right?
Yeah.
But only in those countries, their potential is going to be more nearly realized than is the potential of the people who are born in Jubilee Hospital. Right? Many of those who could have become great whatever are going to find themselves lapsing into criminality because of the social context into which they are born.
Yeah. Anyhow, the next thing. Pertaining to Mr. Monroe, that man is rather fortunate,
Oh, he's, well.
And I am wondering how many cases that have been long and drawn out is going to suffer a similar fate.
Oh, well.
Because that low-income foundation, 70 million thing, went on for 6 years.
Yes.
And some people were said to be directors. I think they included you too. And another talk show was.
Yes, I went to work one morning at KLS. And I picked up the Gleaner and was reading the story about that fraud, and saw my name and another talk show host
on Hotline,
mentioned as directors of this thing.
Yeah,
right.
That man is a fraud, sir. And him get out, him walk scotch free.
Yes.
And leading up to the state of emergency, that man was the head of the Southwest St. Andrews Citizen Association, an arm of the People's National Party.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, man, and he came out at one time where he had a court case and him saying was working for the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, man. So you see the type of people that you have out
there. Well, I think he was a
activities.
principal witness against Mr. Purnell Charles. No?
Yeah, man. And Mr. Purnell Charles said on a program that at one time he had to run from that man and a gang at a bank.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, man, when they attack him, so I would like you to get Mr. Charles on your program. And he will be able to tell you much about those individuals from the 70s leading up to the state of emergency. Anyhow, pertaining to the state of emergency, I hear you harping upon that, But I want the young people of Jamaica to understand that the state of emergency was not called in order to deal with crime and violence, but to lock up political opponents of the government.
Well, at the time that it was called, Mr. Manley told the country that it was to deal with the issue of crime.
Yeah.
You remember the death
Spy Robinson thing of the sort. Spy Robinson.
Well, no. There was a killing of the Peruvian, was it, ambassador? And that was what was the final spur that moved them into the state of emergency.
Yeah.
A couple of years later, when the Smith Commission of Inquiry, he was testifying before the Smith Commission of Inquiry, he changed his tune, right? And said that the state of emergency had been called in order to explode a bigger bomb than they expected to be exploded by the Labour Party in that hotel in Montego Bay, where they were having a conference and they invited journalists to come there. And he thought, he and his party thought, his government thought, that what they were going to be talking about was the gun that had been given to Albert Robinson, which Albert Robinson had told Mr. Siaga was an illegal gun that he had been given by D.K. Duncan, the General Secretary of the party.
Yeah.
Right? Which was not true. But the truth was even worse. Right?
But when you talk about disclosures of bomb, Mr. Golden, better be careful, you know, I hear him talking about Trafigura too.
Yes.
So him have a bomb.
A boom.
Yeah, boom. But I want you to do the country a good job by highlighting the state of emergency again, what lead up to it, what was proposed by the government as to the reason,
yes,
and what eventually emerged from the Senate Commission of Inquiry.
Yes.
Because a lot of the young people that are going to vote in this election has no knowledge as to exactly where we are coming from as a people, and the games that were played up by those socialist communists of the 70s, many of them that are now returning to the political forefront. Because although the socialism is dead worldwide, and communism, the Iron Curtain, Russia, etc., and East Germany, socialism is very much alive, led by Mr. Chavez. So the Jamaican people need to look and see what is happening around them.
Yes.
And I hear you talking about Dr. Peter Phillips must be smiling.
Hold on just a moment for me. Okay, thank you very much. We're back online. Hello?
Yes, you were saying that Dr. Phillips must be smiling now in terms of imposition of severe, resolute, and drastic
severe,
measures.
Extreme, and
resolute and drastic measures.
Yes.
But I am not going to put anything on Dr. Phillips if anything of the sort happens. Because you mentioned that prayer leading up to the election of the new president of the People's National Party, and the damage that Dr. Omar Davis had done to the economy. But at the same time, you express sympathy for the lady who came from the bowels of the working class, and she became the prime minister. The country needs to understand that the prime minister happens to be the minister of defense. So if Dr. Phillips imposed certain measures, it has to be with the support of the Prime Minister.
No, sir. The Prime Minister is head of the government. And
Prime Minister is the head of the government and the Minister of Defense.
If Dr. Phillips, Dr. Omar Davis, or any of them impose for them to put in place policies or take actions, they have to have the support of the Prime Minister.
Of course, it's a collective decision on the part of Cabinet.
Yes,
so we cannot exonerate the Prime Minister from anything that happens out there and the country.
No, I'm not doing any such thing, sir.
No, I know you are not doing that. And I hear Mr. Golden calling upon the government to take action to deal with crime. That is good, but you have to understand the games that can be played, because one of the communist strategies is to attack your friends and blame your enemies. Is the first time you heard that one?
No.
All right, so the Jamaican people need to understand that Mr. Golden asks a very important question in terms of the attack upon the security forces, the police. If those police are involved in the fight against criminal elements, or if some of them are involved in any bandolo activity whatsoever, and other people could have been taking revenge against them. Because I hear a moderator mentioning this morning that the Sunday Herald claimed that one of those that got hit was involved in some corrupt activities. I have not got any Herald to read off that, but I have heard one of the moderators on a program this morning mentioning that. Because we have to understand the country that we are living in, that we have people that are clean and upright, and we have people that are corrupt and unscrupulous.
So the government needs, through the Ministry of National Security, needs to carry out investigation to find out the real reason so that the culprits can be dealt with.
Yes, you're right.
Anyhow, the next thing, I saw where the government has been coming out and making some attack against the opposition without substantiating them.
Oh.
I see Mr. Harry Douglas claiming that there are some opposition elements involved over by the dump here over Riverton.
Well, there you are. Attack your friend and blame your enemy.
When they ask him for proof, he can't come in with anything going to put the workers' them life in jeopardy. And prior to that, we hear Mr. Dennis Morrison claim that the material that are used to make the cement suffered from extortion. And he mentioned about Western St. Thomas.
Yes.
And you know that constituency is represented by a GLP MP. So if anybody involved in extortion and they were from the opposition, then the government could easily use security and deal with them. So they just go around and make uttering in order to get the people to rally back behind the PNP without bringing anything substantial in terms of evidence. So we understand the game that they play, and the majority of the people of this country better open their eyes and become conscious as to the games that are going to be played on them in 2007. Because they say once beaten, twice shy, and they have been beaten 4 times already.
Yes.
So Jamaican people, open your eye and be vigilant. You need to read and you need to listen, because the Prime Minister says she don't read newspaper. But if the Prime Minister don't read newspaper, how is the Prime Minister going to be abreast as to exactly what people are saying in order to take the necessary corrective measures? Because if the young people don't read, they cannot improve their mental capacity and become productive individuals to move this country forward.
Yes.
So whilst you can read, you should read. And if you are the head of the country, you should lead by example. You agree?
All right, so. Yes, I do.
Anyway, all right.
All right, thank you very much. Incidentally, did you see that photograph on the front page of the Observer yesterday morning? The Sunday Observer. Oh, nonsense. The Sunday Herald. With Sister P bending over the Nigerian author Chinua Achebe. She has one hand behind his head, and hold on a little bit. Anyway, she greets Professor Albert Chinua Achebe. Whatever his name. She's bending over him, and as the photograph is taken, it looks as if she's about to stuff the book into his mouth. No, probably what happened was that it's just the way the photograph was taken, and that what was happening was that she was bending over, going down to plant a kiss upon his cheek or upon his brow, and having the book in her left hand. It creates an impression that wasn't really valid. So why did they publish that picture? I'm sure they must have had others. Okay, hello?
Hello?
Hello, yes.
Yes. Hi, Mr. Perkins.
Yes, sir. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you.
Good. I was just listening to that gentleman. I'm calling you from New York because, something I always, whenever time I hear people talk about the state of emergency.
Talk about what?
It really sends the state of emergency.
Yes.
Right. It really sends chill through my spine.
would you speak up for me? You know, we're having a problem. Yes, we're having a problem on that line. Would you speak up for me?
Yes, I was saying that each time I hear people talk about the state of emergency, you see, it really sends chill through my spine, knowing that many young people are not aware of the atrocities that were unleashed on Jamaican people back in the 70s, when that politically motivated state of emergency was declared.
Yes.
I am just looking at
it is one of the most corrupt acts that had ever been done by government in this country, sir. That state of emergency.
Let me tell you something, Mr. Perkins. I don't know if anything more, if there is anything as atrocious as this, that state of emergency, that we can equate in any third world country that has ever happened in any third world country.
Yes.
That was the most disgusting, most corrupt thing that ever took place in Jamaica. I cannot even equate it with the riots down in Frome or the killing of those people who marched to Stony Brook, Mr. Perkins. What was bad about it is that it was not unleashed upon Jamaican people by their colonial master. It was unleashed upon Jamaicans by our internal colonial masters.
Yes, I think you're right.
I'm looking back at that editorial here, Mr. Perkins. I'm going to read it. Just to give me a little time to read a portion of it.
Yes.
In an editorial a few days after the state of emergency was declared. And it goes as follows. The declared purpose of the state of emergency is to control violence, both political and criminal. And many will wonder why this action was not taken earlier. For example, after the Ruthless Orange Street Holocaust last month, the JLP opposition, 5 of whose members are now political detainees at Up Park Camp, has complained that the declaration is intended to deprive the opposition of its campaign rights. On the other hand, the country has been assured by the Prime Minister that free elections will be held, and he has affirmed that the state of emergency cannot constitutionally postpone election indefinitely. You remember that Orange Street fire, Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Like the Gleaner editorial rightly said,
that was
at that time for the government to have really, if they really wanted to fight crime and violence, using the state of emergency to fight crime and violence. Wasn't that the perfect time for them to have declared it?
Well, I don't know, sir. That would have been declaring it against themselves. You remember the part that Mr. Tony Spalding played in that? And you remember the comment of Mr. Justice Small in his
yes, sir, the good passing relationship with gunmen.
More than a passing acquaintance with gunmen.
You know,
I was a little amazed to hear the Prime Minister saying earlier in our just after she became Prime Minister. I think it was just after, or was it before, that Mr. Tony Spalding was her mentor.
What a mentor, Mr. Perkins.
Yes, man who had more than a passing acquaintance with gunmen. What
took place in Rima in 1977, Mr. Perkins, when 7,000 or more people were uprooted one day, right in the presence of the policemen. You just have to look back at what David DeCosta had to say after the state of emergency.
Yes.
You remember? I'm sorry, not the state of emergency. After the Green Bay incident, Mr. DeCosta spoke about the army in an article he wrote in the Gleaner called "What Made Them Do It."
Yes.
When he spoke about the farrago of lies and fairy tales that were told at the coroner's
Hold on just a moment for me. Okay, thank you very much. We're back here. Hello?
Yes, Mr. Perkins, when I hear Ms. Simsimila talking about coming from the bowels of the poor, you know, for people who are not in your age group or my age group who have been around back in the 70s to know what's happened or what transpired in order for her to the member of parliament in Southwest Central, making it a safe seat for her. You know, the only thing I can say is that each time I hear her talking, it sounds like a damn sick joke to me, Mr. Perkins.
Like a what?
A sick joke, Mr. Perkins.
A big joke?
No, not a big one, a sick one, Mr. Perkins. S-I-C-K, a sick joke.
A sick joke? Oh,
a sick joke. Mm-hmm.
Why do you say that?
Of the poor, but what happened to those poor people who were living in Rima? You remember what happened to them?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. You remember, I mean, do you remember how people...
You remember the people in Tivoli Gardens, what happened to them? You remember the...
I mean, do you remember how they were beaten? And like Mr. DeCosta said, had it not been for the army that had gone down there to rescue them, the morning, the police were right there, you see, and the police saw all what was happening with those thugs that were operating from within the Ministry of Housing. That was headed by Mr. Tony Spalding,
yes.
One of Mr. Portia Simpson Miller mentor, right? That was the way to treat poor people. Somebody coming from the bowel of the poor when the poor people were uprooted. They were robbed of one of the basic wants of man, basic needs of man, Mr. Perkins, shelter.
Did you hear?
Shelter.
What
more brutal could you have done to people?
Did you hear that tape that I played this morning, sir? Something that
which one? What?
Something that Mr. Ronithwaite said on his program on Friday.
No, I didn't hear it.
Well, the essence,
when I was trying to get your feed this morning, I had a little problem.
The essence of it was, sir, he said that the justice system in this country was never designed to provide was never intended. The justice system in this country was never designed to provide swift and effective redress for all the citizens of this country. You heard that?
Did Deacon said that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
That's very, very interesting, Mr. Perkins. I think you should make an effort to play that tape again so that those of us here in North America and elsewhere who might have been having them.
Okay, hold on. Listen
we can hear it.
Listen and we play it for you again.
There is no fair-minded person with knowledge who could be satisfied at the many excesses and contradictions of the justice system right now. And further, while I support fully the efforts being made to reform the system, which is more comprehensive now than ever before, there is no doubt that there is valid criticism about some of the gaps in the law, some of the lack of prosecution in certain instances. And I'm not talking about the prosecutors, talking about a general societal and political attitude which has rendered us open to many of the apparent and real injustices, some of which you named a little while ago. So we don't need to skin up with each other. It's a deep systemic problem, you see. The justice system in this country was never designed to really provide swift and effective redress for all the citizens of this country.
There you have it, sir. The justice system in this country was never designed to provide swift and effective redress for all the people of this country. That's a profoundly serious indictment. Right?
You know, Mr. Perkins, when we look back at what happened, you were talking about what happened to Mr. Colonel Charles during the state of emergency. Recently, I was talking to Mr. Charles while I was doing my research and my thesis. You know, when Mr. Charles talked to you about what happened to him and what happened to other Jamaicans, you see, we don't have to ask if the justice system was in shambles there. Mr. Charles said it was a serious thing when you had policemen walking into your house, searching it without a search warrant.
Yes. Well, hold on, sir.
Marking you after prison.
Hold on a moment. I was talking to a lawyer friend of mine over the weekend about the possibility of the government declaring a state of emergency. And you know what she said to me? She said that wouldn't be necessary because we are already living under a state of emergency. Right? She says,
right, Mr. Perkins,
hold on. Right now, sir, the police don't have to have a search warrant to go into anybody's house. And, I mean, they can go say they're looking for a gun or looking for drugs. That they don't need a search warrant for that. But in any event, if they're looking for something else, right? In the old days, they needed to go to a justice of the peace to get a state of emergency, to get a search warrant.
Search warrant.
Right? Nowadays, they go to a superintendent of police. So the search warrant, they can go and do the search, and the search warrant be given to them afterwards. Right?
You know, that sounds like when blank detention orders were given to the police, Mr. Perkins, during the
yes, sir. By the minister of the government in that time. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Minister of National Security.
Mr. Charles said to me, and I'm going to quote something to you, Mr. Perkins, that Mr. Charles said that really hit me hard. It goes as follows. When you can walk into a man's house, search his house without a warrant, find nothing, yet detain him and his wife or detain him alone and put him into prison, not advising him what he was charged for, you find no evidence to charge him with anything illegal. But because you want to get him out of the way to have a free run for political reasons, you lock him up.
Yes.
That is a denial of one's political right and denial of one's freedom.
Yes, quite true.
Mr. Perkins.
And that happened in 1976, sir.
1976, and it's still happening.
Well,
as a matter of fact, you know what? Some time ago, D.K. Duncan was talking to a Jamaican radio announcer here. I guess you remember when he made that speech where he said that the atrocity of the 70s, we were still suffering from it, and he was apologizing for the role he played.
No, I don't remember that.
Yes, man. When I think he was addressing the West Kingston Trust prior to the last general election.
I see.
Well, anyhow, you know what Mr. Duncan said while he was talking to the person up here? Mr. Duncan said once upon a time, when he was looking back at what happened in Britain, Mr. Duncan said that once upon a time, the police used to kick down your door and pull you out and take you out in the street and gun-butt you and kick you and beat you up. But now they don't kick down your door and pull you out in the street and gun-butt you. What they do, they walk right into your house and they pump bullets into your head and kill you, and the crime scene is not even protected.
Yes.
You know, and he made special mention about how the crime scene was not protected at Britain.
Yes.
Mr. Perkins, that's where we started having the decay.
Yes, sir, but
it started right back there in the 70s. I'm not saying that everything was perfect prior to.
The reason for that is the contempt.
Some serious decay in the 70s.
Yes, the reason for that is the contempt in which the government of Jamaica holds the Jamaican people. Because if that were not so, the police could not do that. Right?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, Mr. Perkins, when you go back and you look at Green Bay, you know, there is no doubt in anyone's mind that Green Bay was state-sponsored terrorism.
Yes, it was.
The state of emergency, Mr. Perkins, was nothing more than mere state-sponsored terrorism.
Yes.
You know, we have to look back. Recently, I was reading an article written by Mr. Ken Jones. And when Mr. Jones touched on the state of emergency, he wrote as follows: he was talking about an attack on press freedom. You see, he talked about what happened to Joe McPherson's Voice newspaper. You remember the Voice newspaper?
Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Jones spoke about the brutal attack took place during the state of emergency when the JLP candidate for Southwest St. Andrew Pernell Charles had been thrown in detention camp. And Joseph McPherson, editor of The Voice, was entered as a last-minute opponent of Portia Simpson. Shortly after his nomination, McPherson and his paper were made the subject of several attacks, and once he had to be rescued by a helicopter. The Maxfield Avenue newspaper office was put under siege, invaded, and a number of employees tortured and otherwise brutalized. There are living eyewitnesses who can give further and better particulars of the atrocities that culminated in the torching of the building. Not only did they torch the building, attack Joe McPherson, but I am sure if your memory serves you right, you will remember that they were killing some of his workers, and one of them was found dead at one stage with his tongue removed.
Yes. Well, you know, sir, at the beginning, at the commencement of the state of emergency, I was doing a program on Jamaica Broadcasting Corporation, right? Mm-hmm. Radio. And I was got rid of and replaced by Deacon Thwaites.
Yes, I remember. Public Eye.
I beg your pardon?
But you know, Mr. Perkins, it's good that you talk about, you mentioned that one. I'm glad you talk about it. You remember what happened at Radio Jamaica?
Uh-huh.
John Hearn was removed from Radio Jamaica, his calling program in the public interest.
Yes.
The late John Hearn. Uh-huh. John Hearn did not even know that he was removed. Right? John Hearn heard it through the grapevine that he was removed, and at the same time, Mr. Peter Abraham, who was giving news commentary at the time, his program was not touched.
No, that's quite true.
Mr. Abraham was made the chairman of Radio Jamaica, right?
Uh-huh.
I remember Dulcimina, which had a large listenership, something like over 1 million people.
It was the most listened to program in Jamaica, sir. They've scrapped
yes, it was the most popular program in Jamaica. I remember.
Yes.
I remember. I mean, there was no doubt. You see that at any given day,
that came later on, though. Hold on just a moment for me. Okay, thank you very much. We're back here. Hello?
Yes, Mr. Perkins. We were talking about the way the press was interfered with back then.
Yes.
You know, we were talking about the changes that occurred at Radio Jamaica. I was going through some Gleaner articles, and I came across
that wasn't during this. That wasn't during the state of emergency.
Some of your writings back then.
Uh-huh.
Right. And I remember you were talking about some notable changes that took place in the press at the time. The first one you mentioned was Mr. John Hearn program. The frequency of his appearance that had been reduced in the public interest at the time. It was reduced from from 3 times weekly to 1 time.
Uh-huh.
And Radio Jamaica. While Mr. Deacon Ronnie Tweetone and JBC Public Eye, it remained 5 times weekly, Monday to Friday.
It was Monday to Friday.
Mr. Abrahams wasn't touched at all. The case of Dulcimina, for a decade, the most popular
program
at the time.
That was later on.
Radio.
That was later on.
Yeah, well,
when I was...
Well, it was more or less in the same breath of time, Mr. Perkins, when the government was busy.
It's part of the same thing, but it happened later on while I was doing a column for the Gleaner, yes.
Yes, well, I wonder if we could say at the same time when you were...
I was doing a column for the Gleaner. And essentially living off Dulcimina.
Wait, say that again?
I said I was doing a column for the Gleaner at the time, sir. And essentially living off Dulcimina. So
okay. Yeah, you know something, Mr. Perkins, I remember, and I am surprised when I hear people talking these days. I really wonder if people if the memories are short as the here and the ahead, do they really go back, those who were around, and look back at what transpired in the 70s?
I don't think so.
Look back at the moral decay that we suffered back then, which we have not been able to recover from it as of right now, Mr. Perkins.
Well, I don't know, sir. The thing is that our politics is not about Jamaica, you see. It is about our politicians and their friends and supporters.
You know, this morning I saw something in I think I was reading it in the Observer, the internet edition, where Mr. Golden was talking about having a fixed election
having a what?
in Jamaica.
Having what?
Fixed election date.
Yes.
Fixed election date.
Uh-huh.
A few days ago I was talking to a friend of mine here, and the friend actually laughed me to scorn, Mr. Perkins, when I told him that it was the Prime Minister in Jamaica who determined. Well, this friend is from. She's not Jamaican. She's really from one of the American territories.
Yes.
You know what? She actually laughed me to scorn when I told her that it was the Prime Minister who determined when we have election in Jamaica.
But that also is the position in England. And our system of government came to us from England, or Britain, right? And I don't see how you could have a fixed election date without making some fundamental alterations to the system, right? In America, you can...
Yeah, what?
Hold on. In America, you can have a fixed election date, right? In Jamaica, given our constitution, you cannot have one. It cannot work, right? Because if the Prime Minister's position depends upon the support of a majority in Parliament. Am I right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
If that majority, therefore, shifts against her in the middle, let us say that 2 years after she's elected, or a year, or 6 months, or a month after she's elected, or there's an election, she has a majority in Parliament, and in a month, or 2 months, or 10 months, or a year, or 2 years, that majority turns against her, right? She loses her majority. How does she continue as Prime Minister? And if she doesn't continue as Prime Minister, what happens? How you have to have an election, or that has to be a possibility. You follow me?
Right. Yeah, but in order for us to have a fixed election date in the country, Mr. Perkins, I understand, there's gonna have to be some amendment to the Constitution.
You would have to have. Yes, you would have. It would seem to me to require a separation of powers, resembling what we have in the United States, right? Where the Parliament, the Congress, as they call it there, is separate from the President. The President,
right, and the judicial
the President, to continue as President, does not need to be supported by the Congress, right?
Yeah, well, you see, the difference between our system in Jamaica and what we have here in North America is that the President is elected by the people.
Yes.
It's two people running for the position.
The Prime Minister is not elected by the people here, sir.
Well, we know she's not. While she's elected, he's elected as a member of Parliament.
Yes.
It's not really the people who determine who is the Prime Minister.
No, it is the majority.
It's really the majority of our
yes.
Majority of the parliamentarians in Parliament who has to give that support to the Prime Minister. So this is the person who we want to be Prime Minister.
Yes. Incidentally,
Mr. Perkins, I don't know if that is true. Because in Mrs. Similar situation, it was only about 4 or so MPs that supported her during the
yes,
her,
yes, but
for the leadership.
Yes, but the thing is this, that only about 4 MPs supported her for to be elected president of the party, right?
Right.
But when she came to Parliament, if a majority of the members of Parliament, that is to say, if enough of the PNP members of Parliament had decided to vote with the opposition against her, then she could not be Prime Minister. The Governor General would have appointed her Prime Minister, right? But then when she comes to Parliament, if Parliament rejects her, it isn't going to be possible for her to function effectively as a Prime Minister.
But, Mr. Perkins, some years ago, I heard you said something, and I didn't digest it too well. But I would like for you right at this time to see if you can brief me on it again, what you said. I remember you saying that the Constitution was put in place to ambush the Jamaican people. What something to that effect.
Well, yes.
You wanna go back over?
Well, it's a rather longish, and we're running. We have to end this conversation shortly. But the Jamaican people, sir, are not the focus of our Constitution. The Constitution is not there to protect the rights of the Jamaican people. It is there to protect the power of Norman Manley and his cousin and their 2 parties. Right? Okay?
I am still confused about our Constitution, Mr. Perkins. It's very difficult
let's talk about it another time. We have a lot of callers holding on. Okay? Thank you very much. It was nice talking to you. Okay, hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good morning, sir.
Good morning to you, sir. Happy New Year, Mr. Perkins.
Oh, thank you. You mean you think that I can have a Happy New Year in Jamaica?
I doubt it very much.
Well,
I doubt it very much.
You doubt it very much?
Doubt it very much.
All right. Okay.
Well, anyhow, I'm calling.
May I wish you the best that is available for the new year.
Thank you, sir. I'm calling from New York.
Friday. Oh, well, may I wish you a Happy New Year?
Yes, man, I will have a happy one here. Friday I was up listening for you, but you wasn't on.
No, I was not on Friday.
However, the last time I hear you on the here, you said something which I was a little bit caught up over, but then I realized that people need to listen to you. Corruption in the police force.
Yes.
What did the commissioner say caused corruption in the police force again?
What did he say about it?
What did he say caused corruption in the police force?
What did he say caused it?
What he said? Greed. You remember that?
Greed.
Yes. And you blast him.
Well.
You said overworked and underpaid.
Yes,
You remember that?
Yes, I don't think that when you think of what a police constable is being paid, sir.
Well, I know exactly what they are getting paid.
Yes. Well.
No, you said it's overwork and underpaid cause corruption.
Well, I
agree with that. I totally agree with that.
Yes.
When you blast the commissioner, I was a little bit upset, but then I realized he is one of the stupidest commissioners Jamaica ever see.
One of the what?
Stupidest.
Oh, is that so?
Yes.
Which one?
You is the head of the police force. You receive information that men stockpiling weapons for the election, and you broadcast it?
Well, the best that you can do, it seems, is come out and talk about it. I really do understand that one.
You receive information like that and you broadcast it?
Well, I should have thought that there were other things that the commissioner could do with that information.
I mean, if you had received such a valid information, all you need to do is find the weapon and dismantle them.
Absolutely.
You broadcast. Now, if I put away 2 guns aside for the election, and I hear that, then I'm going to get rid of my 2 and put it elsewhere.
Yes.
No, it might not be my information you receive. It might be the man who stockpiled in 2030. But who knows? So you're sending everybody now to move it from where they have it and put it elsewhere.
Well, maybe so.
That's exactly what he's doing.
Well, I don't know if that is his intention. Hold on just a moment. Okay, thank you very much. We're back here online. Hello?
Yes, I'm still here.
Yes, in fact, I mean, I would doubt very much whether that would be the commissioner's intention, right?
Well, maybe panic.
But I will agree with you that is an effect that his broadcasting of the information could have, you know.
That's exactly what it does.
Well, people could be more, the conspirators could be more careful in what they're doing. And I just don't understand what would be the motive? Why the commissioner would think that is the use that he should make of that information, or the primary use, or a use that he should make of it. Why should he broadcast that information instead of putting in place the investigations, discovering the stocks of weapons, confiscating them, locking up the people involved, and, you know, in that way defeating the conspiracy.
Exactly.
I mean, it's so, you know, the people in Jamaica, they need to open their eyes and their ears. If a lot of people sit down and listen to your program instead of talking nonsense about your Aboriginal labor right program, they would learn more sense.
Well,
they would learn more sense, because Jamaica needs 2 more like you.
Let me tell you something, sir. People are more interested in this country in identifying arguments or statements as being favorable to the PNP or the JLP than they are in the objective truth of the statements and the validity of the arguments.
It's true.
Right?
It's true. And they are more into
and that is part of their problem
than the country.
Yes.
They are more into a particular party than the country.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because in America here, when somebody work and retire, they have nowhere to go. If they live in the city, they maybe go down south or somewhere, buy a nice little house and relax. But there is nobody interested in Jamaica.
Yes.
If you notice, all the politicians are doing this, scrape and they full their basket and they get ready to get out of Jamaica.
Yes, indeed.
This country can go. What happened to who have nowhere to go?
Yes.
People need
that
to
is quite true.
In their country.
Full the basket.
I was talking to a friend the other day. I was talking to a friend the other day. When I called the friend, I actually have to left a message on the friend's cell phone in order for the person to get to the person. The person said to me he saw the call, but he wasn't answering no unavailable call. I said, what happened? He said somebody calling him from prison. You hear me, Mr. Perkins?
Yes. Somebody called what?
Somebody calling him from prison.
Yes.
Because their credit is low. They need credit. And you don't want to send no credit to that person. I say, you know the person's name? Yes. You know the prison at the person's name? Yes. I say, so why you don't call the police to tell it to the police? Him say, no, I'm not tell the police, you know. Because guess what? The police, them same one collect money from them for your cell phone in there. You understand? I can't see, somebody in a prison with a cell phone.
Yes. Well, it happens quite a lot, apparently.
So, I hope, I don't know, I hope these people can do something to stop all these nonsense. Because, see, it's coming on to World Cup. And you see the murder rate right about now?
Yes.
They, in turn, them and their whoever creating the mess, they might have to support the World Cup. Because I know a lot of people cancel out on their tickets already.
Well, you know, sir, I think that a lot of people are having jitters about this World Cup.
Nobody want to go to Iraq for World Cup, you know, Mr. Perkins.
Well, quite true.
Because don't it's worse than Iraq right now.
Yeah, well.
I don't think
that we're. No, I know that. I think we're some distance from Iraq, right? But the conditions here are not as one might have hoped them to be.
I don't think 40 people lose their life in Iraq in 8 days.
In what?
I don't think 40 people have lost their life in Iraq in 8 days.
Yes, man.
Jamaica.
Yes, man. More than 40 persons on one day. You remember when Saddam was hanged?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I think there were 80 persons killed in a single explosion.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So
that day was like a tragic.
So we are in the junior league where that is concerned.
I don't know what the hell is going on, but I don't know.
You know.
I don't know.
It's very sad.
Up off their folly ground.
And one of the saddest things, not the least of sad things about it, is this tendency to for people to want to cover up. People on one side to want to cover up. People on the other side to want to expose. Right?
Yeah, okay.
You don't expose, I mean, and to expose is to be negative on whatever else. Right?
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Being positive is to cover it all up. And to say, as was said on the Breakfast Club this morning, that Jamaica doesn't really have an economic problem. I think it's very funny. But it's serious too. You know?
It is.
It's very serious.
I mean, if the head of the stream is leaking information, I don't know how people can trust the police.
How people can what?
Trust the police.
Yes, well, there's that too. People are being asked to provide information to the police while they're being told about the corruption of the police force. You know?
Because, I mean, they fed it and, I mean, they set up so many bodies to investigate and it has been, I mean, it's to reveal itself because the commissioner himself.
But I insist, you know, sir, I insist that it is not the police force that is corrupt, it's the country that is corrupt.
Thank you.
Right?
There you go.
The country is corrupt. And, I mean, you have corrupt clergy and corrupt government ministers and corrupt whatever, right?
Definitely.
And people are looking at the police and saying, no, you should not be corrupt.
Right, I mean, if the head of the water dirty, it's not possible that you're going to get to the bottom clean. The head of the water is dirty, so it's going to go all the way to the foot dirty.
Well, so it seems.
So the head of the country is corrupt. Everybody know that.
The what?
The head of the country is corrupt.
I don't know. Hold on, sir. I don't know. I don't know who is you're calling the head of the country. But I wouldn't like to accuse. I don't think that, you know, that statement can be validated. So.
No, you don't know who is the head of the country.
What?
You don't know who is the head of the country.
Well, I wouldn't like to say of whom I regard of the head of the country that person is corrupt.
Who is the head of the
country? I have no
evidence
direct of that. You know.
The head is the head.
No.
Or whoever we call the head.
Don't say that kind of thing, right? All right. Thank you very much. Okay. All the best to you. Okay. Hello. Yes, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
The program is a little bit too short for me to talk to you now.
The what?
I rather call after 12.
The time is short.
Yes, ma. I rather call about yourself for the news.
Yes, we're going to stop for the news.
Yeah, ma. I rather call about during that time. So
all right.
Talking to you now, eh?
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Perkins.
Yes.
Yes, sir. That picture on the front page of the Herald yesterday.
Yes.
With our Prime Minister sprawling across this gentleman. most unbecoming and completely lacking in decorum, isn't it?
Speak up for me.
It's completely lacking in decorum. And I think unbecoming of a prime minister. Sprawling across this gentleman.
No, but hold on a little bit. I think I get the impression, you see, that the photograph.
Yes.
It's an unfortunate. It's unfortunate. What is happening is that she seems to be bending over. He's sitting down, I believe.
I see.
And she's bending over to kiss him, I think.
Oh, I see.
Right?
I see.
And she has one hand on his neck.
Yeah.
And in the other hand is a book. And as she bends over, the photograph is taken at a time, in a way that gives the impression we're not seeing the distance between the book and his face, right? The impression is given that she's stuffing the book into his mouth.
I wondered myself because I looked at it several times and I said to myself, what the heck is this? Anyway.
No.
It's really the photographer's fault then.
I think that, I wouldn't say the photographer's fault.
It is one of these strange things that
yes, it gives the wrong impression. And
I was wondering if it was a doodle photographer who took it.
My question would be, why would they publish that photograph instead of publishing another?
Put her in an undignified looking position there.
Well, I don't know.
Anyway, that's my contribution.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much. All the best to you. Okay. I beg your pardon? A quick one, if there is. Hello?
Dr. Mutty.
Yes, sir. Hi. How are you?
I'm good.
But I can't talk to you at this time, man. You want more time than is available now.
Oh, my.
Okay, you're on a toll-free line. You can hold it if you want.
Yes, I hold.
Okay. Well, I'll look forward to talking to you later on. Okay, that brings us to time for the news. We'll be back here in about 20 minutes. Okay, thank you very much. We're back here online. And I got, what I was told over the lunch break. I got a call. Over the last week, a lot of break-ins have been occurring at the Bellevue Hospital. Can you imagine? Can you understand that? A lot of break-ins. In one of these break-ins, a nurse who happened to be on one of the wards found herself looking into the muzzle of a gun. And her cell phone was stolen from her. In another, the hard drive of a computer was stolen out of the personnel office, whatever. That's at the Bellevue Hospital. Now, where is all of this going? The crime situation, the methods that have been used to deal with it are not working. Right? Bringing down murders 20% is meaningless. Because, if there were, 1,000 600 murders in 05. And that fell to 1,330 or whatever in 06. That I don't know that can be taken as a trend. If we see this happening over 5 years, well, that might say something. But if you look over the period since 1996, which is a year in which that record, well, I tell you something, let's not confine it to that. Look over the past 20 years, right? And I am prepared, I haven't done the research, I am prepared to bet that there have been years in which the crime figures have gone down a little lower than the year before, and then up it comes again, right? It doesn't necessarily keep going up. It goes up, it falls, it goes up, it falls, and so on, right? I don't think that, and when we get to the point where this kind of thing is occurring in a hospital, I don't know where next. Maybe the churches they'll start on, or maybe they'll go into church and hold up congregations. All of that possible. Okay, hello? No, we have to take a break. I'll be back in a moment.
My mother say, you go pass my exam because me have brain poor. Mother's poor patty make me strong so me can learn at school. But teacher say me chat too much.
The time by Mother's Power Patchy is
12:30.
Hello?
Mommy, I need to pay my half fee before exam, and I'm kind of short on cash. You going to Western Union today? And oh, I miss you, see?
I can't wait for you to get a job.
It's payback time. Now there are great rewards for sending when you use your Western Union card. When you send money within Jamaica or away, get points redeemable for $3 discount on your next qualifying send transaction fee or $200 Jamaican phone credit.
Mommy, it's me again.
Well, the amount of time this child need money, I'm about to save a bundle.
Sending is rewarding with your Western Union card. Terms and conditions apply. Visit any Western Union agent location or call 926-2454 for details. Fast, reliable, worldwide. Western Union. You send me.
You're listening to Perkins Online, the Thinking Person's Talk Show. Our phone numbers are 968-4901, 968-4902, 968-4903. Our local toll-free line is 1-888-991-4072. Or you may call our international toll-free line, courtesy of the People's Telecom of Jamaica Limited, winners of the prestigious Jamaica Milestone Award on 1-866-LINK-106. That's 1-866-5465-106. You can also log on and listen to Perkins Online live on the World Wide Web free at www.go-jamaica.com. Now back to Perkins Online on Power 106 FM.
Okay, thank you very much. We're back here online. We're going to take a few emails now.
Yes, Mr. Perkins. This one makes reference to the fixed election date.
Yes.
Come on, Mr. P. Just use the favorite line of our Constitution to enable the fixed election date. Save and accept.
Save and accept? Save and accept what?
Provisions of such and such thing. In other words, you could amend the Constitution to say a fixed election date would now be part of the election.
Save and accept when
save and accept
loss of a majority in Parliament. I don't know that would make sense.
I don't know. Mr. Perkins, have you seen the transportation centre at Halfway Tree? No matter how you look at it, I'm still convinced it's nothing more than a very big bus stop. Don't you think that all that money could have been invested in something more productive?
I have no doubt whatever of that. None. But one of the things that's happening in Jamaica is that money is being used for the wrong things by the government. When you think of the money that is being used on, let us hold on a moment. Let us hold on a moment and see what comes out of the Cricket World Cup. And I am prepared to put my money with Mr. Patroso. And in fact, it may be even worse than he has suggested. Right? Because already it is having an impact upon the tourism industry. That issue of the visas. Okay? There's a story in the Gleaner this morning, I think it was, about one of the papers, about the impact on the tourism industry already being felt. Adversely too. Adverse impact.
Mr. Perkins, do you think that after Parliament has passed the Contractor General's report, that it should be published in the papers and that Jamaicans will see what really happened at the NSWME?
I don't think it's a matter of...
Do you think that this, in a way, will provide an out for certain people?
I don't think it's a matter of Parliament passing it. The moment it's tabled in Parliament, the press can publish it.
I wasn't quite finished.
The information it contains, yes.
It is very interesting that this report, or the news of it, comes at this particular time.
Why interesting? You'll follow that.
Mr. Perkins, is it true that Mr. Manley is the only victim of the state of emergency who is dead?
The only victim of the state of emergency? I didn't say he was a victim of the state of emergency. I don't know who said he was a victim.
Mr. Perkins, did you see that story about the bauxite dust deluge? Yes. In the newspapers yesterday?
Yes.
I was hoping to hear your comments on it this morning. Do you think the JBI is cognizant of this situation or not? Do you think they plan to take any action? We need to know.
Look here. That lady who wrote that article has been talking about this dust news story. I don't know, it must be... It could be 20 years. Right? She has been talking about it, she and others, for a very long time. And that is not the only area in which this problem exists. It exists in Nain, well, that area from Nain up to Southfield in St. Elizabeth. And it exists, I believe, in Clarendon, where Jamaica functions. And possibly in Yorton, I don't know. I never heard much about what goes on there in terms of this problem. I don't know about that. But it happens because of the contempt that government in Jamaica has for the people of Jamaica. I don't see how government could have agreed to allow... First of all, they're not unaware of it. They're aware of it. They know it is happening. Right? It is one of the costs of the bauxite industry. And this cost is not being borne. I'm sure that it is my understanding that there are things that the bauxite companies could do to prevent this spread of dust in the areas where they operate. They don't do it and impose that cost upon the people who live in the areas, who are not necessarily directly benefiting from the bauxite industry in their areas. It is a disgrace, right? And as I say, expressive of the contempt that government has for people in this country.
Mr. Perkins, where is our mayor when we need him? Has he become such a socialite that he hasn't noticed that we who live in the Monroe Road area have protested and are still protesting the blocking off of the road on behalf of the American Embassy?
Which road is blocked off? Monroe Road? Not Monroe.
Well, the Monroe Road area must be Bamboo Road.
Bamboo.
Why was the road beside the embassy blocked off? Who approved this? How can a business of this size not provide parking? Was there not parking on Oxford Road? For the millions of dollars spent by Jamaicans, could a shaded waiting area not be provided?
Well, you know, the Americans are powerful. They do what they do. And we are looking, I suppose, to get a little sort of something in the pan. So we can't be too strict with them. That's the only explanation I can offer.
Mr. Perkins, last week I think that you made me very cross with you. I guess all callers have a right to call the show and be allowed to speak, but why do you allow them to go on for so long? I think you gave that Jamaican caller who stated that crime was everywhere far too much time. Mr. Perkins' argument was flawed from the start when he was saying that one cannot blame individuals for some of the crime problems in Jamaica. Mr. Perkins, I was embarrassed with some of his arguments. And by the way, the twang was poor. It was neither a Jamaican accent nor an American one. It was weird. I was cringing. It's from a UK listener.
Oh, well.
Mr. Perkins, I can't understand it. It took me a long time to say this, but it is something that I've been thinking about for a long time. You know, if I got the chance to become Prime Minister, I would do the same thing to my fellow Jamaicans.
Read that
Jamaica
again.
is full of
again.
fools.
Read that again.
I can't understand. Mr. Perkins, it took me a long time to say this, but it is something I have been thinking about for a long time. If I got the chance to become Prime Minister, I would do the same thing to my fellow Jamaicans. Jamaica is filled with fools. And if you take what a fool has and convince him or her that so it go, then why not? I am not sorry for no fool. They must wise up or suffer.
I hope that you never become Prime Minister. It will be better for you not to.
Mr. Perkins, what do you think of Assistant Commissioner Novlet Grant's response to the confessions of a corrupt cop? She should have chosen her words very carefully, you know, because if they were misinterpreted, then what does she mean? The policeman is a traitor to his office? Or to his squaddies? Or to the constabulary force? Or to the people of Jamaica? She should have chosen her words carefully. However, her use of the word traitor speaks volumes to the mindset of the hierarchy of the JCF regarding the code of silence that the policeman making the allegations confessed. It is even of greater importance that the Assistant Commissioner chose not to deny that such a code exists. but by the use of the word traitor, confirm that such a code does exist and is known to be part of what is being taught and enforced at the police training school. As a Jamaican abroad, I am embarrassed by the facade presented by leadership in my country. There seems to be no attempt to address the endemic corruption that is plaguing Jamaica at this time.
You know, sir, I think that there can be no question of Assistant Commissioner Grant being misinterpreted or misrepresented. Because obviously, if she felt that she had been misinterpreted or misrepresented, it would have been the easiest thing in the world for her to say so, and to, we would have welcomed her in this program. I'm sure that if she had written to the Gleaner would have published her letter. She has done nothing of the sort. Therefore, she's clearly, has no problem with the interpretations that have been put upon what she said, or what the Gleaner published, with what the Gleaner published in terms of what she's supposed to have said. So I don't think that there's any question of misrepresentation. Yes, go ahead.
Good day, Mr. Perkins. I am begging you, please ask the authorities to pick up the garbage at 2 East Greater Portmore. Garbage has not been picked up 10 days now. Flies and mosquitoes are killing us. Please ask them. NB, Mayor George Lee is very vocal about the missing MP. However...
The missing MP?
Yes, she went to America.
Oh, Parish Councillor. Councillor.
He is here. He is here. And he is missing in action. What has he been doing? We want our garbage removed. Mosquitoes are killing us. Malaria is around.
From time to time I hear officials talking about people dumping garbage in drains and blocking them. That happens because the authorities that have responsibility for clearing the garbage, for picking up the garbage, are not doing what they are supposed. Well, this is, in this case, NSWMA, right? They're not picking up the garbage as they should. What are people to do? Have it pile up at their gates? And have dogs come and scatter it all over the place? People are paying their taxes in this country. What are they getting in return for it? Garbage is supposed to be picked up. It is not picked up. And if it is picked up, it is taken to the dump down there and allowed to catch a fire and have smoke all over the corporate area, all over Kingston. What are people to do? Why is it that the government of Jamaica and the various governmental agencies are not giving people a return for the taxes that they're collecting from them? What is the purpose of collecting taxes? We take a break. Okay, thank you very much. We're back here online. Hello? If people have a moral and legal duty to pay taxes in this country, does the government not have a corresponding duty to give them value for the taxes they collect? And what if the government does not? Call in the Maroons. Okay, hello?
Dr. Mutty.
Hi. Yes, sir. How are you, my comrade?
I am getting on despite the circumstances.
Ah, my gosh. You find the circumstances threatening? Frightening? Upsetting?
But let me touch on two small issues here.
Eh?
Let me touch quickly on two small issues.
Yes.
The exoneration of the chairman of the low-income foundation.
Yes.
Yes.
His exoneration.
Yes, man. I think it was about 1993. At that time, I was playing some leadership role in a church.
In a what?
Church.
Yes. Oh, you were?
Huh?
You were? You were playing leadership role in a church?
I was a youth leader in a church.
Oh, I see. And you gave it up to be an adult leader in a party?
Well, there are different phases to people's lives, eh?
I see, yes.
You're doing some and you enjoy doing some.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
So you regret the church service that you gave?
Well, I come in studio one day and just go through everything.
Okay.
I was invited to a meeting by some senior church leaders.
Yes.
And presented with some documents from this group. And it was a huge amount of documents. And their party wanted me to be the community leader for that thing.
Uh-huh.
And the more I read, I asked, the more questions I asked. And I got impatient, feeling that I was asking too many questions.
Yes.
And, some of the things were too good to be true. So I decided that I would not be a part of it.
Uh-huh.
Now, subsequent to that, the Minister of Housing, Eastern Douglas, issued a statement that they had not sold any lands to these people. And anybody who gave them money should retrieve their money of the police helping them.
These church people?
No, man, the Monroe group.
Oh, I see. Yes.
And they said they had some acres of land in St. Catherine there to build these houses. But it says something about what we go for, other people, what we believe in. And a lot of people that want to talk man are saying that it's a small man thing and they should be given a chance.
Who should be given a chance?
Huh?
Who should be given a chance?
The Monroe group should be given a chance.
Yes, should be given a chance. Why?
Because they were there to help small people.
They were there to help small people?
Yes.
And did they help small people?
Well, a lot of people got burned in it,
Uh-huh.
And lost a lot of money.
I see.
And, kind of saying that it goes to show what they believe in.
I see.
Because, these people have some plans which...
Anyway, I'm very surprised that you're not happy with Mr. Monroe's exoneration, because he's a good comrade, as I understand it.
Well, what I regret is the people losing their money, but we just need to take another thought.
Uh-huh. You regret the people losing their money.
Yes.
But you don't regret his getting away?
Well, if he was not guilty of what they charged him for, then, have to free him.
Well, if he was not guilty of it, I wonder who was guilty of it.
Well, it could be that the investment did not work.
Huh?
It could be that the investment, didn't work.
Is that so?
It was not anybody stole.
Uh-huh.
Thing. But I don't say we need to take another look at things when we are persuaded that they're good.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Anyway, he's a good comrade,
Yeah, you have comrades and you have PNP,
What?
You have comrades and you have PNPs.
Oh, there's a difference between them?
Yeah, man.
What's the difference?
Well, I come in student, I student.
Oh, I see. All right.
But, you made mention that...
Anyway, I'm sure Mr. Pernell Charles is happy to see that he got away.
And I'm sure he will get the people losing their money.
Eh?
Like I do.
Mr. Charles is a magnanimous man, you know.
Yes, I know.
It is like, that horrible story, very sad story, of those two young men from the university, one of whom stabbed the other to death, or so it is alleged.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
The one who died is the son of Mr. Justice Campbell of the Court of Appeal.
Yes.
Right? And I gather that Mr. Justice Campbell has said that, yes, he and his wife were feeling a lot of pain. Right?
Yes.
But he's even more concerned he's concerned about the loss of his son. But he's even more concerned about the other parents whose pain, his pain is, he has suffered his pain. But they are just at the beginning of suffering. He's very concerned about them. Right?
And
Isn't that a wonderfully magnanimous thing for him to have said?
That's what is next to Jesus Christ. That what is next to Jesus Christ.
Well,
and
but I was very impressed when I heard about this.
Yes. We haven't gone too far.
I think it was actually in the papers, was it?
Yeah, I think yes, it was.
Yes.
We still have good people, eh?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I really hope that they will, they will be able to endure the suffering, the pain that they must be feeling now. Even with all that he said there, they must be feeling a lot of pain and disappointment.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But a good man.
Very much.
A magnanimous person.
Yes. But you claim that if the majority in Parliament should believe that the sitting Prime Minister should not continue.
Yes.
Then there would have to be elections.
No. There wouldn't have to be elections. No, I didn't say that.
What are you saying?
I am saying, sir, that the Prime Minister cannot function as Prime Minister without the support of a majority in Parliament.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Therefore, if the majority should change, right? Then one of the ways of dealing with that, and it may well be a necessary way of dealing with that, might be elections, right? Suppose, for example, that there is a slender majority, right?
Yes.
A majority of 2 or something like that, right?
Yes.
And 2 members of the government side should either not support there can be all kinds of problems. Suppose that nobody in the parties can find the support of a majority in Parliament, which could happen, right? You have a majority in the present Parliament. There's a PNP majority, right?
Yeah.
So the people from the Labour Party would not be considered. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, suppose the majority of the PNP members decided that they would no longer support Sister P. Right? Or at any rate, she can't find the majority, the support of a majority.
Yes.
No, it doesn't follow that Peter Phillips would be supported by a majority. It doesn't follow that Dr. Davis would be supported by a majority. Right?
Yeah.
So what if none of them can muscle up a majority? The option would have to be an election.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
Well, that is how the so-called Westminster system works. And in fact, if the Prime Minister is rejected, she would have the option of calling an election. Right?
Yes.
Now, in the American system, it doesn't work like that. President Bush, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, is not directly elected. She's chosen by the members of Parliament.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And if the member of Parliament turns against her, well, she can no longer be Prime Minister. Okay? Hold on just a moment. Okay, thank you very much. We're back here. I was saying that in America it doesn't work like that.
Yes.
The President of the United States is directly elected.
Yes. And
he is President, whatever the views of Congress. Right?
Yes.
He might be a Republican president.
Yes.
Well, right now, the Congress has turned Democratic.
Yeah.
The Democrats have a majority.
Yes.
Both in the Senate and in the House of Representatives.
Yes.
But Mr. Bush remains president and could, in theory, be an effective president. Right?
Yes.
For example, the Congress can reject laws that he proposes, right? They can also pass laws that he opposes.
Yes.
But for them to become law, well, they can pass, bills that he opposes. For those bills to become law, he's going to have to sign them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if he refuses to sign them, then they will have to have the support, I think, of a majority, of a 2/3 majority in each house, in order to become law.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, so that's a quite different system.
Well, you're not saying though that under our current system we cannot have a fixed date. We cannot have a fixed date, election date.
I don't see how we can have a fixed election date.
No, man. Then all you have to do, as the person in the email said that were they singing in a way that would take care of those circumstances.
I beg your pardon?
No, sir, I'll stop, man. Is that the thing is worded in a way that would take care of those circumstances.
Take care of what circumstances? Take care of the circumstances in which you do not, the Prime Minister does not have the support of a majority in Parliament? How would that work?
Yes. You have an election.
You have an election?
Under that circumstances.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So you don't have a fixed election date?
Well, I tell something, you won't have that kind of situation arise in, well, I don't believe it will arise in Jamaica.
Oh?
I don't think our culture facilitates those kind of things.
Culture is something that changes,
Yes, but it's not possible for us to change in that dramatic way now.
Oh, is that so?
No, man, people attach their party and they're not going to do anything to embarrass their party.
People, I see. People vote and attach. People are attached to their party.
Yeah, man.
But that is something that has to change, If that doesn't change, we're going to go deeper and deeper into the hole. Because what people ought to be concerned about is not their party, but Jamaica. The party is only a means of doing good for Jamaica.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And if the party cannot do good for Jamaica, or is not doing good for Jamaica, then one has a duty, it would seem to me, to support something else other than one's party. I mean, in other words, one shouldn't have a party in that sense. If the PNP has policies and is doing well, support the PNP. If it is not doing well, find something else to support.
I was really talking about MPs, and MPs elected because
MP.
Yes. A party put him up as a candidate.
Yes.
And if you had gone independent, then
he wouldn't have had a chance of winning.
Yes, but you can't forget.
Yes, but hold on a little bit.
Yes.
That is another problem with our constitution, right?
Yes.
The constitution of Jamaica wasn't set up for the people of Jamaica, you know. It's set up for the two political parties.
Yes, well.
In Jamaica, the MPs are not selected on the basis of people choosing from among the candidates the one that they think will best represent the constituency. MPs in Jamaica do not represent their constituencies. They represent the party. And people in the constituencies vote for this MP, although they think he's a bit of a mess. But he is the PNP, if they are PNP, or the JLP, if they are JLP, and they vote for him because they want, in the case of the PNP, Sister P, in the case of the JLP, Mr. Golding, to be the Prime Minister. So the MP really is a proxy for the prime ministerial candidate, so to speak. Right? And therefore, when that MP gets into Parliament, right, he is under the thumb of the Prime Minister, if the Prime Minister is an effective Prime Minister. I mean, there is some evidence of, that a Prime Minister can be ineffective and not really in control of things and so on. Right? But that's the exception. Right? Ordinarily, one expects the Prime Minister, the MP, to be under the thumb of the Prime Minister. What you need is a situation where the MP, the Prime Minister is there at the head of the government. The MP is there representing his constituents, representing the people, so that the people have a voice in government. Right? Which they don't have at the moment.
I saw a very fascinating thing the other day when Mr. Bolden brought the censure motion regarding the traffic bureau.
Yes.
So, there's an opposition MP who seemed to have been annoyed with the process because it was a waste of time. And every time the votes were going to be cast, he walked out.
The opposition MP?
Yeah, man, I came back when it...
I wonder who that was.
Yes. I wouldn't want to be in a situation like that.
Oh, okay, all right. I don't know of that one. But look here, you mentioned Mr. Golding.
Yes.
You heard what Mr. Golding said in the party conference yesterday?
Yes, I did.
About this South American country who is putting up money to influence the election in Jamaica.
Yeah, well, I heard it.
You heard about it? What are your views on it?
What happened? You think I didn't hear?
I'm asking you, what are your views on it?
Well, I said two things about it. I don't know if it is true. One.
You don't know if it is true?
No.
And you have reason to doubt it?
I have no reason to believe it. I doubt it. But
you have no reason to believe it or doubt it?
Yes.
I see.
But it is true, though. What would be illegal about it, though?
What would be illegal about it?
I'm immoral about it.
Oh? You don't know what would be immoral about it?
No, I don't know.
I see. You think it would be all right for your party, for example, to be taking money from some South American leader, right, who has tried to influence an election in Colombia? It didn't work. Tried to influence one in St. Lucia. It didn't work. Trying to influence one in Jamaica in order to get sort of Caribbean satellites or, South American satellites of his government. You like the idea of Jamaica being a satellite, beholden to this man in whichever country it is in South America.
You're a very strange man,
Who?
You.
Why you say that? What's strange about it? You mean the fact that I would like to see a Jamaican government devoted to the interests of Jamaica and not the interests of some South American big man. You think that is strange? That makes me strange.
No, not saying that.
What are you saying?
I did an article the other day and I said an election in Jamaica should be determined by how the people view the party and the set of people they are electing.
How the people view what?
I said the election in Jamaica should be determined by those people here who, in the way that they view such person who they are putting in parliament. Not because of some outside interest influencing the system.
Yes, but if this outside person influencing the system in the way that Trafigura is said to have done, right? Maybe he's putting up more than 31 million.
But
to buy an election for the party. Would that be you really find that tolerable?
No, but we don't have any laws to prevent it.
You don't have any laws to prevent it?
No.
I see.
There have been allegations, you know.
And you would support a party that accepted money like that from some South American big man?
That's it, yes, sir. In the days when I would have been privileged to sit in certain forum.
To do what?
To sit in certain forum.
Yes.
Like the NEC and other forums.
Oh, you're not in the NEC again?
I kicked out long time.
Oh?
I would have made my views known on that. But
and what would those views have been?
But I say I've been wanting to see the system reform in a way that, wouldn't allow such situation.
I see.
But there have been allegations that the CIA funded elections in Jamaica, and I've never heard you came out like that.
There have been allegations that the CIA funded elections
party
in Jamaica?
Yes.
I don't know of that.
No.
I've heard of all. Which election?
At least one, at least in 1980.
I have not heard of that.
You have never heard it?
Well, I've heard some loose allegations about CIA intervention in Jamaican politics in the late 1970s.
Similar to the one made yesterday. Similar to the one made yesterday.
Except that Mr. Michael Manley, who was Prime Minister of Jamaica in the 1970s, you'll remember, Mr. Manley said that he had no evidence of that.
But spend some time to investigate the situation. Spend some time to investigate this one before you jump to conclusions.
Before I jump to conclusions?
Yeah, man.
No, but I'm not jumping to any conclusions. Mr. Golding said this yesterday. Yeah. It was broadcast on the news yesterday afternoon, last night, this morning, at midday, and up to now, I haven't heard anybody in your party coming out and saying, well, look here, they know nothing of this.
You know, my feeling, is that the kite is being flown. Mr. Golding didn't even name the country or the person he's talking about.
Yes.
Who's he talking about?
Who's he talking about?
Yeah.
Well, I don't find it too difficult to guess.
No, if this matter is a serious one, I would expect him to go into Parliament tomorrow. And put everything...
Hold on just a moment.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. We're back with you.
You know something? For some time now, I have been avoiding partisan discussions, and look what you're doing, man.
You've been avoiding partisan... I'm engaging you in a partisan discussion.
Yeah, you want me to defend something that I would not have any knowledge about?
No, I'm not asking you to defend it. I'm just asking you your view about this.
Yeah.
I mean, if from what Mr. Golding said, the inference is that it is your party that is receiving this help.
Yes.
As they received Trafigura money.
Yes.
Trafigura said it was a... Now, how did it go? Who said it was... They said it was a commercial... No, Trafigura said that. They said that it was a gift from Trafigura.
And Mr. Perkins said Trafigura heard that JC was campaigning in a way and said they wanted to...
No, that means that the PNP was quite prepared to accept a gift from this foreign company.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Now what right would Trafigura, or what business would Trafigura have giving money to support a political campaign in Jamaica? How would Trafigura come into that?
These things happen all over the world, Mr. Perkins.
No, that is not the question. What would be the business of Trafigura?
Yes.
What interest would Trafigura have in the outcome of a Jamaican election that would make them want to contribute a huge sum of money, $31 or $38 million?
They would be best able to answer that question.
Who?
I can contribute to the Republican Party and the Democrat once I make it public.
Well, why would you take your money now and send to America to support the Republican Party's campaign?
No, but if I'm a business...
Of course not.
Yes. If I have friends in one of the parties there.
If you had what?
Friends. In one of the parties there. Then, just like how people in Jamaica influence...
Yes, you have friends.
That's right.
You have friends in one of the parties.
Yeah, you are.
And you're hoping that when they get power, they will use power to your benefit.
That would be my thinking as a business person.
I follow what you mean. Well, I am sure that if Trafigura sent the money as a gift, then that is how they were motivated. Now, what about this South American gentleman? If he's sending substantial sums of money to the government here to use in its election campaign, then he must have some interest in the outcome of the elections. I wonder what that would be.
I don't know.
I see.
I don't know.
All right, sir.
Take care.
Thank you very much. All the best to you.
Okay.
Okay, hello?
Hello.
Yes, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Perkins.
Hold on a little bit. Have we had a lady all morning? I don't think we did,
Hello?
Yes. No, I'm welcoming you. And saying that...
Mr. Perkins.
I don't understand. I've been having a bad morning.
Why is that so, Mr. Perkins?
Because you're the first lady on the program today.
It's my pleasure to be the first lady to you, Mr.
It's your pleasure to be the first lady, but I've been deprived of your company all morning and talking to these damn men.
Mr. Perkins, this is Natalie Campbell Rodriguez, the former councillor for the Westchester Division in Portmore.
Oh, yes. How are you?
I am good, Mr. Perkins. I'm good, but I'm a little concerned.
Yes.
As I received a couple calls this morning, about half an hour ago, saying that there was a call about garbage collection in Portmore and that the blame for the non-collection were laid at my feet.
The what?
The blame for the non-collection was being laid at my feet.
Yes.
I just thought I needed clarity on that because I couldn't understand that at all.
No, you're no longer the councillor.
No, my resignation has been tendered, Mr. Perkins.
Yes. How long ago?
And as such, my resignation went in the day after New Year's on the 2nd.
2nd of January.
Yes, Mr. Perkins, but I think even outside of the resignation...
And you were away from the country?
I am away from the country, Mr.
Oh, you are away? You're still away?
Yes, I am. I still am away.
So
but I think outside of the resignation, it is. I think a lot of people misunderstand the situation.
Yes.
When I ran for elections in June 2003, the laws of the country so that you serve a 3-year term.
Yes.
Now, I am being blamed and I am being, a lot of people are having negative thoughts about my leaving the country. I'm a young person who served my 3 years. It is not my fault that the elections were not called, Mr. Perkins.
Uh-huh.
It is not my fault that the elections were not called. And
hold on now.
It is a pity.
Let me understand you. You served your 3 years.
I did serve my 3 years, Mr. Perkins.
And it is after the elections should have been held that you left Jamaica.
No, I left Jamaica before the elections should have been held, a couple months before the elections were actually due.
Uh-huh.
But during that time, I was back in Jamaica at least 3 or 4 times.
Yes. And attending council meetings. And you attended council meetings?
And I attended council meetings, not every month, but I attended at least 3 of the council meetings during that time, Mr.
Yes,
Perkins. The law allows you to miss 6.
Yes.
Okay?
Uh-huh.
And I think people are misunderstanding, and it is coming out in the wrong way, as though I just up and I just left the people of the Westchester Division. It's not so.
Yes.
I tried to explain, but I don't think people were willing to listen, and people are using it to twist it for political reasons.
Yes.
But it is a simple matter. I am married with 2 children. My husband got transferred. I made sure that up until the end of the 3 years, I was accessible for the last couple of months for which I had to leave.
Yes.
I was back. I was in council. I still came. I was there last month.
In council?
And I was in council.
Eh?
Yes, I was in council last month in the Portmore Council.
I see.
But I think if garbage is not being collected, my absence is not a reason, and I don't think it is fair for anybody to say that.
Yes.
That is because I am away why the garbage is not collected.
Yes.
Portmore has always had a situation with garbage collection, and it's something every councillor there has lobbied for an improvement in that system.
Uh-huh. Well,
and that's something that should be levied at the National Solid Waste Management Authority.
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Perkins.
Yes, uh-huh. So you're calling from abroad now?
Yes, I am, because I just want people to understand that what we need to call for is for elections to be called when they're constitutionally due.
Yes.
Not at the women's fancy of a prime minister or a minister.
Yes. And
I think those are some of the things we need to focus on.
Yes. And you're saying you served to the end of your term, right?
Yes, I did.
And you have left Jamaica because your husband was transferred, right?
Yes.
And so you've gone to live with him abroad?
Yes.
Uh-huh. And this is a more or less permanent, migration?
I don't think it's permanent, but it is going to be for a couple of years.
Yes. What is your husband in?
I'm sorry?
What is your husband in? Private business?
No, he's with the United Nations.
Oh, with the United Nations? Yes.
Yes.
I see. Well, I've been hearing about your being away from the council for more than 6 weeks, and neglecting. The impression given was that you had neglected your responsibilities to the people of your division. But now this puts a different perspective on it.
Mr. Perkins, I am one of those councillors that worked. For the time that I served, I worked.
Yes.
I rallied around the people around issues such as garbage collection. I rallied around issues such as the toll road. We still have the case in court.
Yes.
Going to Privy Council on that matter. In my division, every year, for 3 years running, we cleaned every single drain in that division. When we had Hurricane Ivan, that was one division that never had a flooding problem. Every drain was cleaned.
Yes.
And it is a pity that I had to leave the people of Westchester Division, because I can tell you, it's some very, very loving and caring people on both sides, both PNP and JLP, and no peas.
Yes.
But I had a responsibility to my family. I have 2 small children, one 8 and one 2.
Yes.
But I made sure, since I signed up for 3 years, that I served the people. Even though I left the country to live here a couple months before the elections were due, I still went back to Jamaica.
Yes.
And I think I have given my fair share, and I gave of myself during that time.
Yes. Well, I don't see how you can be faulted on that, on the basis of that. But let me, what is more, it is not the responsibility of the council, is it, to collect garbage and dispose of it? Right?
It is not.
It is the responsibility of the
representation to the right authority.
Yes, it's the responsibility of the National Solid Waste Management Authority or National Solid Waste Mismanagement Authority.
Depends on how you look at it. But Mr. Perkins, I just felt the need to call and to lend some clarity to the situation.
Yes.
And also for all the calling for my resignation. My resignation is with the mayor of Spanish Town.
Yes.
And as such, I think for political reasons, some persons will be happy. And, I just want to also use this opportunity to thank the people of Portmore who supported me. And the people who I got a chance to represent. I want to say thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Okay, ma'am.
And it was a learning experience, one that I will never forget. And it's not that I'm gone forever. It's just that for this time, I have to give my life to my family.
Yes. That is perfectly reasonable. May I wish you a very happy New Year.
Thank you so much, Mr. Perkins.
Okay.
Same to you.
All the best to you. Okay, hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. 630.
Oh, how are you?
630.
I haven't heard from you for a long time.
Well, I was traveling for work, and at the end of the year, I was itching to call you, but I couldn't get a chance.
Oh, I see. Sorry about that.
So I want to take the opportunity. To wish you a happy New Year.
Well, if one is available.
And okay, and
but I can wish you a happy New Year.
Well,
hold on just a moment for me. Okay, thank you very much. Back here online. Hello? Hello?
Yes, Mr. Perkins.
Yes.
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, so I was saying, I can wish you a happy New Year because what it is what you've been doing over the years, Mr. Perkins, is you've been educating and schooling the Jamaican people. And we're hoping that one of these days, people or more people will start to listen and think, because that's what we're trying to stir up. People to think for themselves and not to basically just hear stuff or read stuff and, whatever. But what we're saying, Mr. Perkins, I hope that this year...
That will be a basis for happiness, sir.
I pray that you will basically live to see Jamaicans turn around in their thought process, and that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Yes.
Right? Now, I have two issues here, sir, which I would like to bring to the fore. And I would love the people of Jamaica to actually at least listen to this. Now, last year, right after the Prime Minister was, what should I say, ordained? Is it ordained?
You mean when God appointed her?
Okay. That's exactly where I'm going.
Yes.
She was sent by God. Yeah, she was appointed. Right? But it seems like she went through some sort of ordination. Because the Prime Minister's utterances about being sent by God, I'm wondering if the Prime Minister knows how much responsibility goes with that utterance. Now, let me fast track to the Trafigura money not being repaid. Now, the Prime Minister being sent by God, does the Prime Minister understand that when she says the money should be repaid, and it will be repaid, that the people are looking and watching to see if what she said is exactly what is going to happen.
Yes.
Now, there is something, there's an attribute to a person who claims to be sent by God that everybody watches out for, and that is integrity. You hear me?
Yes.
Now, if you say things and you do something else as a person who was sent by God, then we have a serious issue here.
Yes, right? I think so.
And when the Prime Minister was asked...
You're giving God a bad name.
When the Prime Minister was asked, Mr. Perkins... I'm sorry?
I say you're giving God a bad name.
You're giving God a bad name, plus you're making yourself look like a fraud.
Well...
Which, basically, that's the conclusion if you keep on doing what you're doing.
Or another way of putting it, sir, is that you could be using... trying to exploit God's name for political reasons.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes.
And therefore, it seems like the latter that you just mentioned is what is being concluded.
Yes.
Right? Now, what I'm saying, Mr. Perkins, is that if Mrs. Simpson Miller, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, is
the most honorable, sir. The most honorable.
Okay. If she is serious, Mr. Perkins, about her image and about being perceived as honest and fair and something different for Jamaica,
yes,
the Prime Minister would do some things which are different. And one of the things which a Prime Minister can do which is different is to lead by example. Right?
Yes.
Now, here's what I'm saying. If the Prime Minister said that money should be repaid, and it's not been repaid, all I'm saying, Mr. Perkins, is that leads her integrity away. And she doesn't realize that, right? But she's not going to speak. She's not going to say anything as to what she's doing, most likely for the fear of saying something she can't follow through with. And I think that's the reason why the Prime Minister is keeping silent.
Why she's doing what? Why she's doing what?
I think the Prime Minister, she is keeping silent.
Yes.
She's not speaking on a lot of issues that she should be coming out and speaking about. And I think she's fearful for the mere fact that she is probably not doing what she's saying, so she's afraid of saying, and thereby causing more political fallout from her stocks. You understand what I'm saying? So that's one of the reasons why I think the Prime Minister is keeping quiet. Now, I just hope that the Prime Minister will come to Jamaica one of these days, come to the people of Jamaica and tell them the money for traffic ruler that I said and demanded was to be paid. It is paid. Everything. And she can hold up some invoice or a receipt or whatever it is or transaction to show the people of Jamaica that that money was paid back. As a matter of fact, Mr. Perkins, if Mr. Patterson was in that position, that money would have been paid back a long time ago, as bad as Mr. Patterson was. I believe so. Right? And so, for the mere fact, Mr. Perkins, this Prime Minister does not have a hold on her party, for one, right? Because we should ask the PNP, we shouldn't ask her about the money, right? And she doesn't hold her ministers accountable for anything, right?
She's clearly not in control, sir. She's not in control.
She's definitely not in control, sir.
Right?
She's definitely not in control.
Right.
And I hope the people...
She gives an instruction.
That
nothing happens. And when she's asked about it, she says, go and ask the party, of which she is the president.
Yes.
Absurd.
Yes. She wouldn't, Mr. Perkins, she wouldn't even say, look, the money might not have been sent, but I will follow up and make sure the money has been sent and get back to you. She wouldn't even say something like that.
Yes.
You know? She throws it away and say, Ask them. Ask the PNP, as if she's not the head of the PNP. I mean, this is disgusting.
She's not in control of the PNP.
No. And the people,
nor of the government,
are accepting this. And the people are accepting this as leadership.
Yes.
You know, it can't go on like this, Mr. Perkins.
Yes.
It can't go on like this. In a time like this, Mr. Perkins, Jamaica needs a leader who will lead.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? You don't want a leader who is wishy-washy, and she's surely reflecting that as we speak. Right? So if the Jamaican people have some amount of sense, look at Portia Simpson's wranglings for these last 7-8 months that we're seeing them.
Yes.
And take it for what it is. There's nothing different coming. I hope the people of Jamaica understand that. There's nothing different. This is a dress rehearsal for her. She cannot kick into gear when she gets, or if she gets a mandate. This is what it is.
But she had her mandate long ago.
Else.
She has a mandate. She's Prime Minister.
Yeah.
How can she be Prime Minister without a mandate?
That's true. That's true. But what we've been hearing is that wait until the people of Jamaica has voted her in. Listen, nothing will change. People, nothing will change. Portia Simpson is Portia Simpson. She just gave you a snapshot of how she will lead the country.
Yes.
And she's not a leader.
Yes.
That's bottom line. On to my next point, Mr. Perkins. The concession of the road cop.
Yes.
You know? That's a very sad day in Jamaica.
Indeed. Well, I don't know that is a sad day, you know, so because that kind of thing,
no.
as I understand it, has been going on.
No, I'm not saying the concession is a sad thing. I am saying the affairs underneath the concession is a sad day.
Yes, of course.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Right. And when you have a policeman, and I don't know his motive for coming out to confess. I'm not sure what his motives are or is, right? But
maybe, I don't know, maybe he has been overcome by conscience.
Possibly. But also, what I'm saying, Mr. Perkins, is if he did it to actually correct the system, right? Or actually to right some wrongs, then he should start singling out people who he knows. First of all, he has to get out of what he's been doing, for one, right? He has to pay back some restitution, for two, right? And then he's got to start singling out some people who he knows is destroying Jamaica, right? Because this is destruction. This is destruction on Jamaica right here, Mr. Perkins. Now, it is so coincidental, Mr. Perkins, that right after the rogue cop confession, that policemen are being targeted. Could there be a link?
Well,
you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, those are possibilities that will have to be that is a possibility that will have to be considered, I suppose.
Right, and you can't rule it out. You can't rule it out, right? Because when the cop tells you that in the police force, and while they're doing their corrupting, right? It's dog eat dog.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? And even the guys at the top are involved in the corruption. And that's the scary part. Right? Because they're able to mobilize and manipulate situations to various degrees that the subordinates can't go to.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? So that's more alarming. That's the senior cops. Right? And this is something which I suspected, Mr. Perkins, and I'm sure a lot of people have suspected this corruption and this level of corruption for a long time. But with this confession, it just basically scores a lot of points to say, look, this is really what's going on. Now, should we take that cop's confession as at face value and say this is what is going on? That's a major question. Why should he come out and put himself at risk and making up stories like that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, from what I have been hearing over years, sir, it doesn't seem to me that that confession by that road cop is there's anything in it that is unlikely to have been happening.
Right.
But I think it needs investigation. Right?
Yes. Is there anything in place?
And in any event, what the commissioner said when shortly after he became commissioner, there is nothing that road cop had said that is inconsistent with what he said.
True.
Right?
That is so true, Mr. Perkins.
And the previous commissioner talked about the corruption of the police force. Right?
That's true. But with the previous commissioner, Mr. Perkins, I think it was right under his nose, and he looked like he couldn't do anything about it.
Well, maybe there's nothing that can be done about it in the prevailing circumstances. Hold on just a moment for me. Okay, thank you very much. We're back here online. Hello?
Yes, Mr. P. Yeah, I'm here.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm here. No, as you were saying that the previous commissioner, or even this commissioner, you don't think can get a handle onto this whole thing.
Look, sir, the corruption in the police force has been notorious and for years, right? But I think that one of the problems that we have is that we seem to think it is a matter of the police force. It's not just a matter of the police force. The police force is corrupt because there is so much corruption abroad in Jamaica.
In the wider society.
And if the government of Jamaica wanted to do something about corruption in the police force, it could have done it. It hasn't done anything.
Listen, but Mr. Perkins. Mr. Perkins,
yes.
You're right in saying that the police is just one little fraction of what's going on in the wider society. We're living in a corrupt society.
Yes.
Right? And if you start at the top, even where the government is concerned, and you see the practices that have been going on, even underneath, some things that we don't even know about, right? And one little thing just came to light the other day with Traffic Gura. That's just maybe just a tip of the iceberg, right? And there's a lot of things
we're hearing now about another South American political leader who is making money available to presumably to the People's National Party to run the election.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Mr. Bruce Golding made this allegation in a party conference yesterday, and we haven't up to now heard a denial of it.
Well, I thought that the Petro-Carib deal was something which was done for the PNP and not Jamaica.
Yes.
You're saying that again, another South American leader or
well, I don't know. Hold on.
Actually,
this, according to Mr. Golding, is a South American leader who contributed money to the Colombian to a party in the Colombian elections with a view to influencing that, and also to a party in the St. Lucia elections.
Yes.
Recently.
Yes.
Right? So, I don't know. I don't know which South American leader it is,
That sounds like Hugo, Mr. Perkins.
It sounds like Hugo. Eh?
Yeah. It sounds like Hugo.
Like Hugo. Well, I don't know. It might well be Hugo.
That sounds like Hugo, because once you say Colombia, he dipped his nose in Colombia's political arena.
Yes. It could be Hugo, it could be you come.
And these are the people which the PNP is associating itself with.
Yes.
Right? And they're talking about corruption in Jamaica, that they want to clean up corruption, and they won't lead by example. As I said, look, you can fool some of the people some of the time.
Yes.
You can fool all the people some of the time, or most of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time.
Except perhaps in Jamaica.
I'm just saying.
I don't know, sir. I don't know. We have yet to see whether that is so in Jamaica.
Mr. Perkins, as fickle as the Jamaican people are, I don't think, there are some people who will stand up and will not be fooled. I sincerely believe that.
Yes, well,
right?
hopefully.
And that is the reason why Michael Manley, if he wasn't dead, is still not in power. Right?
Uh-huh.
That's one of the reasons why Michael Manley lost the election in 1980. He couldn't fool all the people all the time.
True.
Right? So, sincerely, there's some people who will stand up. But listen, I am giving a challenge to the Jamaican people. Is this what our country has gone to? And is this something that we are willing to accept? Not mediocre leadership, but poor leadership. We don't know where the country is going in terms of socioeconomic growth. We don't know where the country is going in terms of development, right? It doesn't make sense. You build billion-dollar highways and the roads, people everywhere are complaining about their roads full of potholes. It doesn't make any sense, right? It doesn't make any sense. You have the members of parliament for the People's National Party actually holding the reins to the public purse, right? It doesn't make any sense, Mr. Perkins, for this administration to actually lead this country for another year. I hope the people of Jamaica will realize that.
Well, sir, that is for the people of Jamaica to decide. But what I would suggest to them is that they think not in terms of a party, but in terms of Jamaica. Right?
Absolutely, Mr. Perkins.
And if in their judgment, the best for Jamaica would be another term for the PNP, well, fine, go ahead.
But listen, Mr. Perkins, you and I have talked about this so many times, right?
Uh-huh.
Listen, people are not concerned about what's happening on the street more than what's happening in their kitchen, right?
Uh-huh.
So, if you can find a meal some way, somehow, you don't care if the country burns down while you're getting it. As long as you get your rice and peas and your chicken on Sunday.
Hold on, sir.
Right?
But you may be getting the meal now. But if the country burns down, then there's no way you're going to be getting that meal. Not in Jamaica.
But Mr. Perkins, that's the flaw within the thought process of the Jamaican people.
Yes.
That is what is going on, and that is the problem that we need to fix.
Uh-huh.
Right? The person who was there in leadership, who had the country's interest on a long-term basis in terms of developing the country, they kicked him out. They didn't want him there. Right? But the person who can put a pot of rice and peas on them stove, that's the person they want. Somebody who can give me a meal today.
Well.
Not knowing what's going to happen next week. How we don't fix that? We have to fix it, Mr. Perkins. The people of Jamaica need to think about the country instead of their kitchen.
Absolutely. Their own short-term, immediate satisfactions.
Well, we'll see.
Okay, sir.
See, Mr. Perkins.
Thank you very much, sir. All the best to you. Okay, hello? Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Mr. Perkins, how are you doing?
Not too bad. How are you?
Well, I'm there. I suck salt through wooden spoon.
You suck salt through the wooden spoon?
Yes.
Well, you what happened? Your genetic connections have been broken?
Well, I do have none of those things, and I'm a Labour Party man, so that's why.
Are you serious?
Yeah, you suck salt through wooden spoon in there, master.
Yes, man. You need to make the right connections, man.
Perkins. Is the garbage collection in Portmore?
I'm not hearing it. Something gone wrong.
No, I said, what is the garbage collection in Portmore?
The what?
The garbage collection.
Oh, garbage collection in Portmore, yes.
Yes. Even as we speak, I have I have, my garbage is piled up high at my gate in Elsha. Yes. And I suppose everybody else in Portmore is facing the same problems.
Yes.
I am at this point in time at my wit's end as to why we have a solid waste management authority. And I'm calling on the minister. And my name is Keith Hines, and I'm the mayor candidate for Portmore. I'm calling on the minister to disband that organization and return the garbage collection to the parish councils. What they're doing is a double thing. You have the solid waste people, then you have elected parish councils which are supposed to be dealing with local issues, such as garbage collection.
Yes.
I hear the former council have to be calling you all the way from the States to defend our name simply because people, would make political issues out of things like garbage.
Yes.
Right? I have sat down personally with the mayor for Portmore and given him a solution how we can solve garbage collection in Portmore. And he has promised to call me so I can flesh it out and tell him how to get it done. He has not done so because the fact of the matter is, he is the man who they call when there is a garbage pile up in Portmore. Not solid waste, because solid waste don't show up. You understand, Mr. Perkins? So we are playing around with something that, what is happening is that an organization, I hear they call Mr. Alston Stewart the idea to say that they need him to assist them with putting out fire at the garbage dump,
Yes.
Quite frankly, I don't know what.
It sounds like they're going backwards rather than forwards.
Better forwards, and I'm telling you, that place needs to be disbanded, and, even if it is that you have a solid waste agency, it should fall under the purview of the local government.
Yes.
And we just have a serious problem. The next issue I want to go to is Mr. Perkins.
Yes.
I decided this morning to drive on our Portmore toll road. And I kid you not, Mr. Perkins, I paid my money and I drove 4 car lengths from the toll booth, and I was piled up in traffic for a very long time.
Yes.
What is the purpose of a toll road anywhere in the world?
Well, it depends on where in the world. The purpose of a toll road in Portmore is to earn money for the toll road providers.
No, but I can't see another reason for it. You pay this money, and immediately you're stuck in traffic.
Yes.
And I'm sitting down there and I'm watching all of these people paying their money and going through to sit down in this traffic, and I'm saying to myself,
that Portmore situation is very dramatic, right? I had a call from a man who said he had driven into Kingston from Mandeville, right? It took him an hour and a quarter to reach 6 miles.
Yes.
Driving on the toll road, right? And it took him another hour and a half to get to New Kingston.
Mr. Perkins, I don't know. I'm just flabbergasted as to what it is. And you see, what has happened is that the People's National Party have so politicized the toll road that once you have any disagreement with the toll road, you are automatically branded a laborite.
Oh, is that so?
Right?
Anyway, look, sir, I have to go. We have to go to a break, eh?
Yes, Mr. Perkins, you take it easy, yeah?
It's going to be a longish break.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. All the best to you. Okay, thank you very much. We're back here online. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm fine so far. Only...
You're fine?
I'm fine. In a sense. My name is Wally Grant from Kingston High Ridge.
From?
Kingston High Ridge.
Kingston High Ridge?
Yes.
Yes.
I just want to use your program to ask the people who attended the show at Concert Spring Golf Club on Saturday night, where we lose 856 shares, to ask them if they could call us, but they might not want to bring them in. Call us and tell us where the chairs are. We could send for them.
What did they take away? Furniture?
Yeah, chairs. You heard of the show at Constant Spring Golf Club on Saturday night gone? Where Peter Bryson was to appear and he didn't? And the patron took away 856 chairs.
I beg your pardon?
Yes, sir. Belong to Kingston High.
Why?
Because they didn't get their money's worth. And the only thing they could take is the chairs.
I follow you.
The promoters, I don't know what happened, why Peter Bryson didn't appear. And nobody came on stage and said anything to the patron. Say, well, look here, we're not able to do so and so and so.
Yes.
And everybody just get mad and took away the chairs.
Oh, hell.
Yeah, when we checked this morning, we lose 856 chairs.
866?
Yes, sir. And I'm asking the people who took them, if they could, they might not want to bring them to Kingston Harris, they might not want to leave them at the police station, but call us and say, well, look here, we have 5 chairs. We're not vexed with you because I know you were in anger. You get a point. You pay $3,000 to go and see a show, and you don't see the right person who you go there to see.
Yes.
Then you just take what you see.
Yes.
So we're not going to row with you. We just want the chairs.
But what, is there any thought of refunding them part of their money?
Well, I don't know. I haven't heard anything because one person called me this morning and told me that they didn't get, when you go to a show, sometimes they give you half of the ticket for you to keep in your position.
Yes.
And that if in case of anything, at least you have something to show you went to the show. They didn't do that. I heard that they didn't give anybody the whole ticket.
Oh, but why?
I don't know.
Why?
And I don't understand. I don't know what
maybe they knew that this artist was not going to appear?
No.
And thought that there might have been reactions?
Yeah, they waited to see if Peter Bryce was coming on. And I'm told this morning by somebody that when they asked them to, they would take a break. And the break was for nearly 3/4 hour. They were sitting down waiting. Nobody came on stage and said anything. And when they realized the light was locking off the stage and the equipment was pulling out,
yes,
I have the people them sit down there.
Oh, Lord.
You see the point? And everybody get anger, and everybody just start take cheer.
Yes.
But I trying to contact the promoter since morning and I can't get them.
Yes.
You get the point? So, I'm still trying to contact them. I expect them to come in and speak to us about them. What their intention is. But up to now, nobody hasn't called or said anything. But I am appealing to the people who took them. That the chairs do not belong to the promoter. It is belong to Kingston Heritage.
Yes.
And we have the police on it. To find them wherever they are.
Yes.
So I'm asking them to please to call us. And who want to bring them to Kingston Harris, bring them. We are not vexed with anybody. We're not going to lock up anybody. We just want the chairs.
Yes.
So I'm appealing to them. So I use your program for that. The chairs are marked. The chairs are marked. They are engraved Kingston KH. So anywhere we see them, we know them.
Yes.
So.
Okay.
Okay, sir?
Well, I hope you'll get them back.
I hope so. Even some.
But I hope also that the people will be compensated.
Yes,
I don't know how that's going to work.
I hope so. The promoters must realize to themselves that this is not the only show they're going to put on.
Yes.
And they want to come again.
Yes, indeed.
You know what I mean? Even to make some sort of free show for the people. But, people don't have anything to show. So
I was at the thing, yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Except your chair.
My cheers, right. I think you're correct.
Yes, indeed. All right, sir. I hope you get them back.
Thank you very much, sir.
All the best to you.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Perkins. How are you doing?
Not too bad, thank you.
Well, I know it's
Speak up a bit for me.
I know it's the 8th day of the new year, but this is the first time I'm calling your program, so
yes.
I want to wish you a happy new year.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, and the very same to you.
2007. I am calling from the Westchester.
From where?
From the Westchester Division.
From where?
Westchester and South St. Catherine. Right. I understand you had the councillor on your program earlier.
Yes.
And there are some questions or observations I would like to make based on that conversation that you had. The fact of the matter is, Mr. Perkins, the councillor left Jamaica in October of 2005.
Yes. 2005?
2005.
Hold on just a moment for me. Okay, thank you very much. We're back here with you, sir.
Yes, sir. Right. She left the island in October 2000.
Speak up a bit for me.
Yes, I'm saying she left the island in October 2005.
Yes.
And based on the time that she left the island, she knew fully well, right, that she intended to be out of the island for a while, and that she would not be returning to Jamaica. And certainly...
You are a counsellor?
No, I'm not a counsellor. Right? And certainly based on
What is your authority for saying this?
Well, I am very much aware of the situation, being a resident in the Westchester area and one who attends council meetings on Wednesday nights.
You attend council meetings?
Yes, I go there from time to time. It's open to the public.
It's open to the public?
Yes, it is.
But not very many people go to council meetings.
That's correct. It's a very small number of persons.
What is your particular interest in?
Well, let's put it this way. I'm very interested in the area, and therefore I am following
You're a caretaker.
I am following the activities on the ground.
You're a caretaker.
Right?
You're a caretaker.
So back to the issue, Mr. Perkins, right?
You're a caretaker.
She left in October 2005.
Are you a caretaker?
She left in October.
No, hold on, sir. Hold on, before you go to that.
No. You hold on. Let's go to the chronology.
Hold on.
To the chronology of the event.
Hold on. I want to identify your interest in this.
But I have said to you already what my interest is. I said to you, right?
Yes.
She left in October 2005.
No. Are you a political? Are you a caretaker? Hold on, sir. Hold on. Are you a caretaker?
I have said to you, right, that I live and I reside in the area and I attend.
Yes, but surely, why is it that you find it impossible?
No, but I don't need to answer that question because
I have established. It's not a matter of what you need to answer. I am the judge of that.
To this issue.
What are you?
No, but I have established my bona fide to speak to this issue. I recognize that when I told
Hold on, sir.
When I told you
Hold on for me.
October.
Hold on a moment for me. No? Anybody can come here and say anything about somebody else.
In October 2005,
right?
And has been in and out
I have to
she
try to ensure.
In and out of the island.
Look here, sir. All right, good night. Thank you very much. Okay, hello? Hello? So would you stop listening to the radio and... hello, yes? Hello? What is going on? Let's try somebody else. Hello? Oh, okay. I can't understand why this gentleman could not say whether or not he was a caretaker, a political caretaker. Why does he want to come here and... I mean, this lady said why she was abroad. I see no problem with that. I mean, if her family is going abroad, her husband is going, her family is going, why should she abandon her family? Okay. Email? Okay, let's hear it then.
Mr. P, I'm disappointed in you. If save and accept is good enough for rights issued under the Constitution to the people of Jamaica, then why then is it not good enough for fixed election dates?
I never said it was good enough for rights enshrined in the Constitution.
Mr. Perkins, will we be hearing soon what were the findings of the Contractor General's report?
I hope so.
Or will it be suppressed in the manner of the Trafigura scandal?
No, but if it's tabled in Parliament, then it will have to be exposed.
It went on, but slow. Mutty, try to be sensible, no? Your last comment. The President of the United States is not directly elected by the people. The Electoral College from each state votes. And that is how the President becomes elected.
So how is
Why do you compare the U.S., which is a republic governed by a constitution, versus Jamaica, which is a parliamentary government? Compare apples and oranges with oranges. Compare Jamaica with England's parliament. That makes more sense.
Yes, but that is precisely what I was saying. And in the President of the United States, the Electoral College, which selects the President, is elected by the people. That is merely a mechanism for doing it. But it is the people who elect the Electoral College that in turn elects the President. And the President is elected based upon the vote of the people in each state. A college is, and that has to do with the allocation of the proportionality of the state votes. That's a mechanism for ensuring that the proportions are reasonable.
Mr. Perkins,
yes,
there's a lot of talk about bad roads in St. Mary.
We'll pay to fix them. We'll be able to afford to fix the bridges, and get them working properly. Okay. Hello? Hello? What's going on? Hello?
Yes, Mr. Perkins.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I want to know if a citizen of this country calls your program and is holding a view that is different from yours, if your ill manners is to cut them off, right? I am under no compulsion to indicate who I am, save and except I said to you that I am from the Westchester area and I am calling in.
Look, sir,
because there were some inaccuracies in the conversation you had previously.
Well, I want to know if you have come here.
In a free country.
If you have come here.
Country.
Hold on, sir. I will cut you off again. I'm not wasting time on this program. I am saying if you have come here to say that what she said was not true, then I would like to know the basis upon which you are saying that. Right? And so would other people listening in on this program. Anybody can come and say anything. Right? But we want to know, have an idea who this person is, what his interests are, and what his likely knowledge is. So if you want to tell us to correct what she says, then tell us who you are now. Are you a caretaker?
The election was due in 2006. If the council left,
are you a caretaker?
2005.
Hold on, sir. Are you?
Could have been held between
okay.
Now and
thank you very much. Goodbye again. Okay. Hello. 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 What is going on? Everybody has hung up? Okay, welcome. Hello?
Brother P?
Yes, sir. Hi. Good afternoon to you.
Was that a case of youthful exuberance?
I don't know what it is.
Yes.
Well, how is he come? He's coming to say that this lady isn't speaking the truth. Right?
Yes.
Who is he to be saying that? Anybody could come and say that. Eh?
Yes, but
let us know who you are now.
Yes, yes.
I mean, I'm not asking for your name, but are you a caretaker? This establishes your position.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes. Perhaps he...
Would you turn that radio down?
Oh, sorry about that.
Or off?
Yes. Maybe he's have some political interest, but
maybe he does.
Yes.
So why is he hiding it?
Perhaps he's not certain as to his...
if he's speaking the truth,
yes.
Why is he not prepared to say who he is?
Yes.
And I mean, I didn't ask him for his name, but is he a political caretaker?
Well, I'm sure he would have nothing to lose if he cleared his interest totally,
If he's talking the truth?
Well.
Well now.
Yeah.
Yes. But Mutty, I know that you is a man who knows what is going on behind the news.
Oh, is that so?
Yes.
I see. I didn't realize that.
Persons have been, Mutty, ever since the days of first edition when we had the combined wisdom of three wise men. There have not been such a morning program that has been more concisive, effective, and, credible. Like this morning, persons have been asking me what has happened to those three vivacious ladies.
Well, I don't know, sir. I gather that they say I shall return.
But I know he's a man who knows what is going on behind the news. I said,
I hear them saying something to the effect that I shall return.
Yes. The question is where?
Well, I don't know.
I wonder if they will be cooling out this morning.
Well, again, I don't know.
Yeah, but Mutty, before you go, there are serious weapons of mass destruction that you must be careful of in the new year here.
What is that? What are those?
Well, one of them is, for example, reparation.
Yes.
Yes, that is one.
You know, sir.
Yes.
We need to develop.
Oh, by the way, the other one is, and you will agree with me, that this one has consumed your program for hours and days, days last year and the year before.
What is that?
That is the matter of homosexuality.
Okay.
Yes, it's a serious weapon of mass destruction.
I don't know. Yes, very likely. Yes. I don't know. It seems to me that we need as a people to develop self-respect. Right?
Yes.
And we cannot expect to progress in the world either by borrowing from our needs from other people on a constant basis, such as Dr. Omar Davis has led us into, or by begging. Right? We need to get up off our rump and work and produce what we need for ourselves. And we have the opportunity. We have a nice country, right?
Yeah.
We need to make use of the opportunities that we have and stop looking and begging and hoping that Britain will produce some billions and billions and billions of pounds and give it to us so that we can live comfortably without doing anything.
Yes, I think the majority understand that logic quite well.
Yes.
We'll speak again at the out of time.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. All the best to you. Okay, that brings us to the end of Perkins Online for today. We'll be back hopefully tomorrow, usual time, usual place, and we look forward to your company. So